40-38. I really don't care. This is all about improving your draft position. Because as I said yesterday, as I'll continue to reiterate, you are hoping you never draft this high again in the Patrick Mahomes era, so you might as well go for as high as you can get. You might as well try for a top 10 pick because you need a game-changing player either on the defensive line, you need it in the running back room, or maybe you try to go out there and add another wide receiver, though I feel that defensive line and running back are the two main issues of this football team. You deserve a medal, though, if you watch this game from start to finish. Like, you watched every single drive.
Give me a medal.
You had everything you needed to see 2 drives from both teams into that game. I mean, you had the false start, 2 penalties on the Chiefs' first drive. It was 3rd and 20-something at one point. Then Minshew scrambles, appears to get hurt on that play, and you're going, well, I mean, going from bad to worse for sure.
Yeah.
Titans fans, they've been suffering through this entire season, but they got to beat up on a team that they, at least for now, can call the reigning AFC champions and have been for 5 out of the last 6 seasons. But I guess I just kind of expected it to look like this. Because if Patrick Mahomes, with that offense, was not able to look explosive over the last 5 weeks, why would it be any different with Gardner Minshew, even though the Titans are bad? I mean, the Titans were coming off a fairly good performance against the Niners, so they were rolling in with some momentum. The Chiefs haven't had any momentum since beating Indianapolis, and they're likely not going to win a game the rest of the season.
And this is where, again, the point remains, how much did Patrick cover up? I don't think Patrick had a phenomenal season. I don't think he is perfect. I don't think he doesn't share some of the blame for what has happened this year. But when you watch Patrick and then this team, now I get it. Some guys were out. No Rashee Rice, right? Offensive line is being maneuvered and MacGyvered around. I understand some of the nuances here. But how much did Patrick cover up? That was a big takeaway I had in this one. And oh, by the way, you want to guess who the leading snap count receiver was in this one?
Was it Hollywood?
Oh, no.
Was it Isaiah Pacheco?
Well, he had the most receptions, snap count-wise, for receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster played 91% of the snaps. Well, why wouldn't you? And sorry, this is not a knock on Juju. Like, this is not me trying to have an issue with Juju playing. It's the fact that he played 91% of snaps when the Chiefs are out of the playoffs. He's more than likely not coming back to the Chiefs next year, and you're trying to see what you have in Jalen Royals and, to an extent, Nico Remigio. I think you know what you have in Nico. He got head-to-head contact in that game. That might go over some people's heads.
I get what you mean. There are screenshots out there everywhere. You can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about helmet to helmet. I guess you can make that connection, helmet to helmet. But, that would be the most painful way to leave a football game. Maybe not the most painful. For guys, that would be a really rough way to leave a football game.
And by the way, love the fact, in perfect Chiefs fashion, gets hit below the belt with a helmet, hit early, and it's a penalty on KC. Because block in the back, baby. If that's not the special teams microcosm of the season, I do not know what is. So Juju played 91% of snaps. You want to take a guess of how many snaps that Jalen Royals got in this game?
Less than 5.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
3. Yeah, anytime you're out of the playoffs, yeah, you need that. And by the way, just full transparency to lay out the picture here, I understand why Juju started the game. I understand why the veterans started the game. I understand why, to an extent, I don't even say Jack Conklin, but I understand why offensively the veterans played a lot early on. You know why? You wanted to see what you had in Gardner Minshew. You want to see, can he be your backup quarterback for next year in case Patrick has to miss time? Now, we want and we hope and we pray that Patrick's back week 1, but let's just say it takes a little longer and it's week 4. Right? Let's say that could happen. I think it's a realistic expectation. It's a possibility. So who could your backup be? Gardner's not under contract, but if he looked good these last 3 games, well, then maybe you bring him back because you're comfortable with him. So I get the veteran starting early. But the second you're down 14 points, Chris Oladokin's in at quarterback. Your defense is getting torched by Tony Pollard and Cam Ward, with your starters, by the way. Hey, maybe now is the time to see what Brashard or Jalen Royals could do. No. Let's force feed Pacheco, a guy who the writing is on the wall is not back next year. This is why I am so... I'm angry. Jack, look at me.
You're fired up for sure.
And this is from me. I'm the positive guy. I'm the optimism guy. I'm the guy that's like, it's not a big deal. It's fine. They'll figure it out. They'll work it out. There's at least something we can take away. What I take away is they tried in this game. And if you're a player, you talked all week long about pride, right? Wasn't that a storyline? Pride.
Yeah.
What do you play for if you're a veteran and you know, your season's is over, basically. You're not going to the playoffs. Well, we play for the name on the back. We play for pride. We play for each other. We play because of the contract, and we're getting paid. And this is the performance that you put out?
I will say this. You can spare me with the pride talk because this Chiefs team doesn't need to win these final 3 games for pride. The season's already been in the gutter for a long time. So this pride talk of, well, we want to finish the season strong, yes. To me, you do want to finish the season strong. If I'm a player, I don't want to roll over and show my belly in these final 3 to 4 games. I would like to have some fight. I would like to show some fire, some passion for the game of football. At the end of the day, you are representing the Kansas City Chiefs and the National Football League. But this is a team that's been to 5 out of the last 6 Super Bowls. Winning these 3 games to finish with a winning record is not going to help your pride. It's not going to boost your ego. That has gone out the door weeks ago. So, yes, you can be there for your teammates. You can show up for Travis Kelce, because that's really what I'm focusing on with the veterans out there, the stars. Is this it for him? Are these going to be the final 2 games we see Travis Kelce play in his NFL career? And if that's the case, it's about playing for him. But record-wise, what the final score is going to look like, no matter how it goes down, it's not going to be helping your pride and your ego. That's out the door. So to hear that, I understand why they say it, but it's not moving the needle for me. To hear a player say, hey, we're still going out there, we're competing, we want to have pride, we want to finish the season strong, kind of goes without saying. But even if they did go out there and let's flip the score, they won 26-9, does anybody feel differently about this team? I'd be in a worse mood today, Sterling, because they would have hurt their draft stock. I don't care that they lose these football games. I know it sucks for the players.
I care how you lose, if that makes sense. I get what you're saying. You're right. Losing in the grand scheme of things, this is a positive.
You'll forget about these games that they've played within a couple weeks.
The reason why I'm frustrated is not because they lost 26-9, but they lost 26-9 with their veterans. This is why I'm upset, because you don't see Jalen Royals, Brashard Smith, Jeffrey Bossa, unless this is what they're telling you. They're not NFL players. They're not part of the future. That's what I took away then. Because if you're playing Juju Smith-Schuster 91% of the snaps, and Jalen Royals plays 3 snaps, what you are telling me, Jalen Royals is not part of the future. When you play Isaiah Pacheco as if he's Christian McCaffrey, and you don't give a single carry to Brashard Smith, what you're telling me, he's not part of the future. The entire running back room is getting revamped, and maybe he's not even a running back. Maybe you view him as a wide receiver. That's what you're telling me. When you're telling me Jeffrey Bossa can't see the field, when Leo's out, I get at different positions. He's more of a Drew Tranquil sort of, you would hope. But Cooper McDonald sees the field. What you're telling me is Jeffrey Bossa is not part of the plan. I mean, that's the logical conclusion I think that someone could have. That's almost how I'm viewing this. Because you played your veterans. You get Cooper McDonald in there over Jeffrey Bossa. You're force-feeding Pacheco. And you're force-feeding to at least have Juju on the field. So either 2 things. You lied to us by playing the young guys that you wanted to. Or 2, you don't view them as future pieces of this Chiefs team.
So who gets the blame in this situation? Because I have a few thoughts on it, right? Because you have these young guys out there. You got Jalen Royals. You got Jeffrey Bassa. You've got Ashton Gelati. All the guys you took in this past draft. All right, so if it's the player can't pick up the playbook. Even when guys are out, they are not fit to go out there in an NFL game regardless of circumstances. So is that on the player? Is it on the coaches for not being able to coach them up? Or is it the third option? Brett Veach and company drafting these guys that can't pick up the playbook or figure it out to get on the damn field in the 15th game of the season that is basically a preseason game for this football team. We don't want to hear about, rebuilding projects. You don't want to see these guys take 2 to 3 seasons to get out there and be a starter. Like, these are still day 2 picks. These are guys that, should be able to work out. And who has this year? Who of the picks they took in the 2025 NFL draft?
No Williams.
Okay. I'll give you that. I'll give you no Williams, but even then,
Josh Simmons healthy,
and how many games did he play this year?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just
I see your point.
I'm with you,
and I'll say because of the snapshot we got of him in those limited games, I would say he looks to be a good prospect.
Yeah.
But this is why they've run into the issue the last 2 seasons, and I'd go as far to even say since the George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie year, because yes, the year after that it was Rashee Rice in day 2, but then in day 1 it was Felix Anudike-Uzomah. You've had some misses for sure, but when we look around, we try to point the finger of, well, how did this team, even with Patrick Mahomes playing 14 games, why were they 6-8? Why is the team that is likely going to finish with 11 losses? The depth on this team is so poor, and it has been, in my opinion, the last 2 years. And when you look at these guys not getting out there, who does the blame fall at the feet of? Is it the player that they can't be coachable, they can't figure this scheme out? Is it the coaches not being able to coach those guys up? I mean, they're clearly athletic, and they were liked by a lot of scouts. Or is it Brett Veach in the front office drafting the wrong guys, drafting guys that might look good on paper, but there's a reason they're falling? I mean, Jalen Royals was somebody that did fall a little bit.
He did.
And everybody said, the league screwed up, and Jalen Royals falling to the Chiefs. How many snaps has he had this year, period? 10?
To your point, and I find this it's just a fascinating conundrum because they didn't want to play Rashee Rice. And then they gave him a very small part of the playbook. They wouldn't let him do anything deep. It was all screen. Remember his rookie year? It was like screens only, the line of scrimmage. I remember that it was like his average depth of target was like almost negative. It was hilarious. It made no sense. And then what happened? At one point, he went out. It was supposed to be that, but he and Patrick read it correctly, and they had like that 40-yard gain. And what happened? It opened the floodgates for him, and he blossomed into a really solid receiver this year, excluded. Right?
Yeah.
But Andy didn't trust him to do that. They didn't want him to do that. That was a broken play that he and Patrick read that allowed them to say, okay, now he's ready. But was he ready earlier? They didn't trust him to do that. Xavier Worthy, they gave him hardly nothing. They didn't give him anything. And then what happened? Rashee Rice went down, and they needed him, and who stepped up? He stepped up and became a really good receiver the back end of his rookie season. It was impressive. They had him running real routes, not the McCole Hardman, MVS, Justin Watson, clear out space routes that we've seen this year. These guys have shown that when they've been thrust into duty, they can do it. And again, everyone's different, but they're not getting the opportunity. Worthy was forced into that role because Rice went down. Rice was forced into that opportunity because everyone else was failing or injured. And then they both stepped up and did it. Kind of the same thing with Noah Williams. Noah Williams couldn't play. Now, I get it. McDuffie and Jalen Watson have played really good, right? But still, at times, you're sitting here going, why is Chamari in the slot? Why can't Noah Williams see the field? How is he ranked as this super high PFF guy? The eye test backs it up, and all of a sudden he's getting fewer and fewer snap counts. Well, then injuries happen, he's thrust back in, and he does succeed. So at some point, they keep saying how difficult it is, but when these guys get chances, they have performed.
They have, and it's not the case for everybody. And I feel that Noah Williams really, earned a starting spot, and he got better each time he got more reps. But I go back to, was it the Denver game where Noah Williams was coming off a season high in snap counts, and then they activate Christian Fulton?
Correct.
And he goes out there and plays over him and takes all the snaps, and then the week after that, it's back to the original plan, which was getting Noah Williams more snaps, and Christian Fulton couldn't see the field. And by the way, that was another ghastly performance for Christian Fulton yesterday.
Man, that was... I think we saw why he had been inactive for so long, or why he has rarely played.
But see, this goes back to my point of, if we're going to point the finger, and maybe we don't need to. Maybe this is just a thing that happens in the NFL. They've battled a lot of injuries. The offensive line is ravaged. Their Hall of Fame quarterback is out. They got a little bit older. Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, a little bit older. They're no longer in their prime. These things can happen. But for the guys that were not so much the difference makers, but they really could bridge that gap from you being a good team to a great team, they all regressed this year. Or you picked up guys that just didn't work. Christian Fulton, when that deal was made, I thought, man, that's great to have. I mean, Jalen Watson went down in San Francisco last year.
Yeah.
You were bringing up, Chris Rowland Wallace, and guys, or Najee Johnson's having to step up. And you felt like you had a pretty solid top three in your secondary with Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton. And then you're telling me he can't even get out there on the field? He's healthy. He's a healthy scratch every single week. Is that on the coaches for not being able to get him in tune or in rhythm with this scheme? Is it the player who just maybe has given up at some point? Or is it the front office for finding the wrong guy, finding the wrong fit? They've been able to do it in the past. You don't go to 5 out of 6 Super Bowls and you're just constantly missing on free agents and draft picks. But it has felt like the last couple of years, there either has been too much faith in guys, i.e. Isaiah Pacheco, to be the number one running back. And I feel that everybody in the offseason going into week 1 was like, I really do not like their decision to stick with Isaiah Pacheco here. I really do not like them just relying on Pacheco, Brashard Smith, and Kareem Hunt to be the bell cows, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
And it didn't work out. And this feels like the first year in a long time you had the public all saying, I don't like that. They needed to do more here. I don't like that draft pick. They should have gone with this guy. And then it did blow up in the Chiefs' face. And I'm struggling today kind of trying to figure out, well, who is at fault here? Because unfortunately somebody has to fall on the sword a little bit for this. Is it the coaching staff? Is it the front office? Is it the player itself? Because you can't go from 15-2, or I guess it would have been 17-2 before the Super Bowl, and then lose 11 games the next year. I know you battled injuries, but we've seen teams battle injuries this year. And
Chargers might win the AFC West now after the Broncos fell.
Back up at every position, it feels like. The 49ers lost all of their key players in the first 5 to 6 weeks and still won games with Mac Jones at quarterback.
Yes.
So we can acknowledge that.
Davis Mills went 3-0 as the quarterback of the Texans.
Yes. It was the other guys around the quarterback, rallying around the coaching staff and finding ways to get it done. And this team, as Andy Reid loves to say, just never cleaned things up. They never fix things, and he even said it yesterday. And it's like, you don't even need to say it anymore. I mean, there are injuries all over the field. You're playing a practice squad quarterback, and I thought Oladokin actually he was the star of the show for me.
He looked better than Gardner Minshew did. And this is again a little unfair to Gardner because he got injured on the third play of the game. I mean, I know he stayed in for a while longer.
Yeah, I think that was the initial injury. And it might have just gotten worse.
That run. So if because you could just see him not being able to that throw to Kelce. There was nothing on it. That was you or me. I think Darcy can get more on it. I've seen Darcy's biceps. He can get at least something extra on that than Gardner did in that one. So I think the injury happened probably that third play, that run, and then just he tried to get it out, didn't work. But to your point, yes, it's multifaceted. I think that's the easy, obvious answer. But who gets the lion's share, Jack? Like, is it Veach for the draft? Is it the coaching staff, or is it the players? You know what? Let's do this. We'll take a break. We'll come back because I do have some thoughts on this, and I think I have the lion's share on a certain side here, and I don't know if it's going to surprise people or not. Let's go through that because that's an interesting proposition. We'll take a break. Come back to The Zone. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Missouri, your moment, it's finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, it's live in your state. And now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. The college football playoffs, round one, done. The Chiefs, 2 more games to go. Christmas right around the corner with that, having a little fun with DraftKings. And Missouri fans, no game day, the tailgate, the noise, the passion. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action. Powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 810WHB. New Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code 810WHB. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Michael Darcy. Your phone calls, 913-838-10-810. Field DH joins at 11:30. Mick Schaefer around 12:30. We'll keep you updated on the stadium. Around 1 o'clock, we should be getting some more information. So in the 1 o'clock hour, we'll do our best to keep you posted on the happenings. Again, as of now, it is expected to pass, so just keeping that in mind. All right, back to the game. Before we took a break, Jack, you had posed the question of who's the most to blame? Is it the coaching staff? Is it the players? Is it the front office, Brett Veach? And I find myself, I hate saying it, and by the way, when I say this, I don't mean fire. I think it's the coaching staff, okay? I don't think, and I'm not saying fire so-and-so, I'm not saying, oh, you have to move on. But I think if you wanted my full, honest opinion, the coaching staff is the majority to blame for this season so far. And I'm not saying Veach is perfect. I'm not saying the players don't have some to blame as well. But to me, I keep saying the offensive scheme is 2022. When it comes to the draft, I think that Andy Reid has a lot of the buying power. And if he wants a guy, he'll, again, my opinion, he'll say, hey, Veach, I want so-and-so. Let's get a big X receiver. No. And Andy goes, I want Xavier Worthy. I want, maybe Jalen Rose was a Veach guy, and that's why he's not seeing the field, because Andy didn't want that guy. Maybe Brashard Smith or Jeffrey Bassa. Those are Veach guys. And Spags and Andy go, that doesn't work for me. That's not my style. Because I've said this too, and by the way, I think it's the same thing with Spags. I love Spags. Again, not saying fire Spags.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very specific skill set of player that he likes to play. And if it's not that guy, he's not going to play that guy. And I'm not just going to say Joshua Usha. It's the easy one. I know he only has one sack this year. PFF loves him. Some of the analytical underlying numbers love him. Doesn't get a ton of snaps. I get all that stuff. Okay? I understand. But even a guy like, let's say, FAU. Now, I'm not saying FAU's a stud. He's injured this year, so that the point is moot. I'm not saying FAU was this phenomenal player. But he's not a Spags guy. But didn't we all say, when he got those 5 snaps a game, we're like, man, he looks good in those 5 snaps. He looks quick. He's getting back there. He's winning. But he's only playing 5 snaps. Well, he's not a Spags guy. You know what a Spags guy is? Karloftis, Aminahu, Ashton Gelati. Those guys are good. I'm not Aminahu, but like Karloftis is a good player. Not a great player, a good player. We can get in the contract, all that stuff a little bit later on, but that's a Spags guy. He sets the edge. He has effort. He's got the motor. Is he going to win quick? No. But he's not going to quit on you. That's a Spags guy. And this is where my lion's share of the blame goes on the coaching staff, is because I also think they are a big part of the draft process, a larger part than some other teams. So with that being said, how do I not blame them? How do I not put the onus on those guys? I think they can redo it. I think they'll have an offseason to revamp. But when you go back to 2022, and that was the new thing, this offense post-Tyreek Hill, they revamped it. It was electric. And then for 3 straight years, we've seen a downturn. 3 straight years. But when you win 2 Super Bowls, go to a third and lose, you sit here going, well, we're winning a lot of games. Why do we overhaul this? Why would we overhaul this? Well, now you have to overhaul this because the entire team and the defenses know what you're doing better than what your offense knows they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think, and it sounds spoiled as hell that we can, bring up a Super Bowl win and say, well, they've had the downturn. They went to 2 Super Bowls in that stretch and won one of them. But in reality, if we are just going based on the numbers here, because we all knew that when Tyreek Hill was traded away, the offense was going to take a bit of a hit. Like, they were not going to have 4 to 5 consecutive seasons of that type of explosive offense. We knew that when they revamped it, brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, brought in MVS to replace some of that production that you were, sending Tyreek Hill away with. We have not seen that same Chiefs team that was so difficult to slow down. Like when they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl and it was, 40-37, that was the last time, in my opinion, you looked at the Chiefs and said, oh, this is just an offense that can be unstoppable. The year they beat the 49ers, you go back to their postseason run there, it was incredible. But they were seen that year as a bit of the underdog. They had the dropping passes problem. It was Kadarius Toney. It was MVS. They had lost to Philadelphia at home. And then they find a way to rally that year. They go on the road in Buffalo. They go on the road in Baltimore, and they beat the 49ers in overtime, scoring less than 30 points. That was that shift for me, that you just saw a different offense. You saw, some of those issues, but they were able to mask it by better players and, of course, having a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. The next year, they do win 17 total games, but at no point last year did we feel like the offense had hit its stride.
Yeah.
And the coaching staff was not really being as inventive anymore. They weren't adjusting. It was the same stuff over and over and over again. And when you go 10-0, what was it, in one-score games, you obviously have luck on your side. And this year, they haven't. And when you're not going to change things up, you're not going to be inventive, you're not going to scheme around the players you now do have, you can't treat Juju Smith-Schuster like he was in 2022. He was coming off of an injury, he was under 30 years old, and he's no longer that player. He was a near 1,000-yard receiver for the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy, fine last year, not so good this year. He's not the same player, and they're still trying to scheme things around him like he's that player. And that's what I believe has been a major issue. You're treating Isaiah Pacheco like the near 1,000-yard rusher he was in 23. And he hasn't been that for 3 whole seasons. He has not even been close to that. But you're going to continue to treat him and give him the workload like he is one. And that's what I would love to see change up this offseason. This is the biggest offseason the Chiefs have had in the Patrick Mahomes era. Because there's no, well, we lost in the Super Bowl, but most teams would kill to be in our spot. Or,
Yes.
We lost in overtime of the AC Championship game. You can fall back on that. The fact they're going to fall back on a 6 and likely 11 football team, you have to hit on 90 to 95% of the moves that you make. And the guys you don't hit on, they got to be those 6th rounders or those 7th rounders. You cannot miss on your first round pick. You can't miss on any of the trades you make. You can't miss on any of those free agent deals that are multiple years. You have to make up for a lot of the misses that you've had. So Veach does deserve some blame in that. But you're exactly right. Maybe some of those moves are from the coaching staff of, we want this guy. We want this guy to fit into our scheme. And when it doesn't work out, yeah, the GM's going to have to fall on the sword because the coaching staff's not going to come out and say, yeah, we actually made that pick. Brett Veach is going to take ownership for that, and now it's all about rewriting some of those wrongs.
Yeah. Again, I just encourage everyone to look at 2022, the first year without Tyreek Hill, which was maybe Patrick's best season, either that or 18, obviously. I think those were the 2 best Patrick years. Just take a look at it, and then look at the slow downturn, because, again, teams figured out the offense in 23, but Patrick was still being able to mask that, and they led and won a Super Bowl, and we heard after the Super Bowl that Patrick said it wasn't quite as fun. 24 happened, and you're right, the variants went their way. And you just look at now, it's predictable, because it is predictable, because this, to me, it's the same offense that we've seen since 2022. When it comes to Brett Veach, I do think some nuance has to be had here. I know nuance is a hilarious word in sports talk radio, where it has to be either one or the other. Again, I think the coaching staff's the onus. That's the lion's share. I'm not trying to carry water for Brett Veach here. I'm not trying to say he's been perfect. Hell, I wouldn't even say he's the best GM in football. But I think we've gone so far the other way now that we forget that drafting, contracts, you're not going to be 100%. Howie Roseman's known as the best GM in football. He drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He had Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Like, can we have some nuance here? Can we talk about how, the Eagles and Jeffrey Lurie will open up the pocketbooks to allow these void years and these, little extra money up front here and spread the money out here a little more than the Hunts will. So, to an extent, it's a little easier for Howie Roseman. Brad Holmes deserves a lot of credit. I'm drawing a blank on the GM of the Rams. He deserves a ton of credit. But at the same time, when there was one major overhaul, Tyreek Hill was a major overhaul. I know it was one player, but that was a major
It was a risky trade too.
And how many GMs do that? I don't think there's many.
No.
And he did it. And again, it worked because 22 was the best year, I think, of Patrick's career. That or 18. So he's 1 for 1 in the major overhauls. Can he do it again? Do you trust him to do it again? Again, I'm not saying this for FAU. Clyde, I was beside myself in the Clyde pick. All my friends know, one of my very good friends, we got in a huge argument on draft night. Huge argument. I said, Alex, this was one of the worst picks that could have been made. And he was all, no, it's going to be great. The offense is now unstoppable. I'm like, all right, man, we'll see. He acquiesced. You're not going to be perfect in the draft. McCall Hardman, all of these things. But I think people forget about the Noel Williams, the McDuffies, the trade-up that actually worked, not sitting back and getting Kyer Elam. George Karlaftis is still a hit. Nick Bolton in the second round, still a hit. Some of the trades that he has made as well. When you talk about, or even free agent signings, Tyrann Mathieu, that was him, correct? The first one? No.
Yeah, that was him.
I'm trying to think.
Veach would have been the GM for the Tyrann Mathieu.
That'd have been early. So Veach.
That would have been going into, that was after they had fired Bob Sutton, so it would have been going into the 2019 season.
And that was the offseason where they not only traded and extended for Frank Clark, but they also brought in Sammy Watkins.
So you also have Justin Reed. You also have moving on from those guys when you think that you could find success elsewhere. And for the most part, in the safety room, they have. They moved on from L'Jarius Sneed. They moved on from Trevarius Ward, and they found guys in the draft to replenish and replace them. So at some point, we do have to have the conversation of, yeah, he's not perfect, but let's take everything into account here, because I think some people have gone so far the other way into Veach as just a, living off of the coattails of Mahomes, that I think is completely unfounded and unfair.
I feel that at the end of the day, you can't be overly critical for one bad season. If you put together, 6 incredible runs where, you finished, in the AFC Championship game or better every single year, you don't need to overreact to one really poor season. What I will say is that this was the first time it felt like in the offseason and then at the draft night and then the trade deadline, there was a lot of question marks. It was like for the offseason moves, it was, why are you giving George Karlaftis that type of deal? Why are you giving Nick Bolton that type of deal? You're trading Joe Thuney. It was to, pay then Trey Smith instead of letting Trey Smith walk. You move on from Joe Thuney. So you made some of these moves where I would say that the Trey Smith deal makes a lot of sense. He's younger. He's going to be just fine at that spot. He's been banged up this year, but overall, I'm not pushing back on that. The Karlaftis and Bolton deal, it felt a little unnecessary. Nick Bolton, I do feel, has had a pretty good year. George Karlaftis, not so much. Again, you still have 3 more years on that deal. They're going to have to pick it up next year, but it was those moves. Draft night, Josh Simmons was a good pick. It felt like, you got a great value there at 31. But then other than that, there was a lot of misses. There were a ton of misses where guys have not progressed this year, and then the trade deadline is maybe in the front of everybody's mind. The Chiefs said, no, we're not making a move. We're not going to be doing that. We want to roll with the guys we have, and we feel that our running back room is going to get a lot better. Our defensive line is really going to improve. And can we argue, other than Chris Jones really picking it up in the second half after the deadline, they got worse.
Yeah.
The running back room got worse. The defensive line got worse.
Yes.
And that was a dice roll. It was, we want to hold on to these day 2 and day 3 picks, which now you feel better about because you're going to have better position.
But so glad they did not trade for Breece Hall. This was my point from the get-go. That third rounder, you think Breece Hall is saving this team?
I don't believe so. I feel they should have done something. I feel that at that point in the season, it was, we need an extra move or two, and I felt there could have been some good value there. And the fact they didn't, I mean, they deserve to have this finish to the year because this team in that first half before the bye week, they were not good enough to run the table the rest of the way. And I would have thought, based off previous years, Brett Veach would have known that. We do need a little extra help here. We're all right parting ways with a day 2 or day 3 pick if that player can come in and be a major impact, which they clearly never viewed Breece Hall to be that type of guy. And if the Chiefs traded for him and they were where they are right now, maybe one win better, then you feel terrible about that because Breece Hall is going to be a free agent. And maybe now you look into the offseason, if the money lines up, you go that route. If not, and you damn well better pick a good running back in day 1 or day 2 of the NFL draft.
So I want to hit on this George Karlaftis conversation on the other side of the break because, again, I think the day of Monday, December 22nd, before Christmas, is nuanced. That should be the title of this show. And so I want to go into a little conversation with George Karlaftis. Some might like it, some might hate it, but I think there's some interesting tidbits to take away. We'll do that on the other side. The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Yeah, Missouri, that game was buns, man. It was just a bad game. But you know what's not buns? You know what's awesome? FanDuel Sportsbook, live in the Show Me State. They are kicking things off. This is an incredible offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. So whether it's football, basketball, hockey, or more, you can bet this all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. They've been doing some phenomenal promotions during the holiday season. If you go on their app, there's something for everyone. Just it feels like every single day you hop on, 30%, 50%, a bonus bet. Like it just for active users right now in Missouri, it is awesome. So FanDuel is the spot for me. It should be the spot for you as well. I had a really good weekend on FanDuel, but I'll give you my hilarious one that I got wrong because no one cares about the ones you win. People care about the ones that you mess up. And if you want to know how off I was on one, this is it. I had Jackson Dart plus 175 yards, Jackson Dart 50-plus rushing yards, and a touchdown. Go ahead and look up Jackson Dart's box score for me. Yeah, that cackle was my reaction as well. Just hilarity. So I got that one wrong, but I had a lot of fun because I had also had a good weekend overall. So FanDuel, I'm telling you, it is a spot for you. Download it today or go to FanDuel.com/Missouri to join in on all the excitement because Missouri, it's time to play your game with FanDuel.
21 plus and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
All right. Welcome back to the Zone. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Michael Darcy. I wanted to get into the George Karlaftis conversation because I have seen some fairly wild takes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you that George Karlaftis has been incredible this year. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, he's the guy you should build around in the defensive line. But I am here to tell you, I think he's pretty much what that contract is. And now I know some people are yelling right now and they're angry saying it's $22 million a year. What are you talking about? This is basically what $22 million a year for a second contract edge rusher is. Like, I'm not trying to tell you it's fair. I'm not trying to tell you it's right. But this is the going rate. I mean, even Frank Clark got this and was doing, during the regular season, basically the same. Our viewpoint of Frank Clark is so rose-colored because of the playoffs. Which, by the way, George Karlaftis had been good in the playoffs, too, by the way. Like, just full transparency. But this is what it is. You're looking at a guy, 6 to 7 sacks this year, depending on where you look, where you count half sacks. I know sack numbers can be a little back and forth. I know on, Pro Football Reference, it's 6. PFF is 7. Underlying numbers, just quick. I know people hate that. People hate it. Overall grade, 78. That's 17th out of 112 edge rushers. His pass rush grade, 18th out of 112 edge rushers. Run defense, 23rd out of 112 edge rushers. Pressures, 63, 10th out of 112 edge rushers. Now, not every pressure is created equal. I call him George Almost Karlaftis, because how many times does he almost get there? I think yesterday was a great example. There was like 5 times where he almost got there. But the point I'm making here is George Karlaftis is not a defensive end 1. He's not your edge rusher 1. He should be your number 2. And quite frankly, he's kind of paid like a number 2. Here are the list of edge rushers who are paid like number 1s. Micah Parsons, $46.5 million. Aiden Hutchinson, $45 million. TJ Watt, $41 million. Or 41. Myles Garrett, $40 million. Karlaftis is getting paid $22 million a year. That is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not. But he's 14th. He's getting paid Greg Rousseau money. He's getting paid up Bryce Huff-ish money. Bradley Chubb-ish money. Jonathan Grenard-ish money. Andrew Van Ginkel is getting paid more than he is. So this is the point I'm trying to make. There is some nuance that has to go in here. He's also 24 years old. Again, I'm not trying to carry water for George Karlaftis here. But this is the going rate for defensive end 2s. And when you can't hit on them in the draft, you have to pay these guys. I want to get your thoughts on the other side, Jack. I know I went a little long on the explanation here, but I'd love to know your thoughts on if you think it's an okay contract, because this is what I'm trying to say. It's an okay contract. Welcome to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Michael Darcy, Field Yates of ESPN joins us at 11:30. Mick Schaefer joins around 12:30. We'll give you some stadium updates around 1 o'clock. Obviously, the LCC meeting in Topeka today, so we'll get some information on that again, expected to pass. So we should have some more information around the 1 o'clock hour, and then that'll also bleed into the program. I think around 3 o'clock there's some more pressers and information that will be released at that time as well. So we'll keep you updated all day long as we are breaking down the debacle of the Chiefs season coupled with the game itself. But I brought up not Juju, which we did earlier on, George Karlaftis. I wanted to ask you this because, again, I try and have some level head here and not just be a prisoner of the moment. I want to understand where things went wrong, but also why the defensive line is what it is and the contract that was handed to Karlaftis. So I broke down those numbers for you. 10th in pressures, 6 to 7 sacks this year, $22 million. That's, I believe, 14th highest paid as an edge rusher in the NFL. But also, that is less than half the money of the, I would say, elite guy. But that is about 10 to 12-ish million less than a lot of the, D-end ones, edge rusher ones, right? I posed the question of the underlying metrics love him. We call him George almost Karlaftis because he almost always gets there. And again, for me, I think it's a fine contract. I think this is what the going rate is for a DN2. I think in 2 years, we will look at this contract and say, yeah, that's what it is. And he's not expected to be the guy. Especially when the other side, or 2 out of your 4 edge rush, or 2 out of your 4 defensive line players give you nothing. I'm sorry, but Pennell, Noddy, Tillery, Charles Omenihu, Mike Dana, it's been the Karlaftis and Chris Jones show, and Chris Jones has taken a slight step back. So I think the contract to Karlaftis has been fine. I'm whelmed by it. That's where I land on it with some nuance. Where are you on this?
I think I'm right there with you, where it's a fine contract. He's going to have to pick it up a little bit more in year 2 because the defensive line was so poor this year. And I feel that's a combination of Chris Jones taking a bit of a step back, and you knew that he wasn't going to play at that high of a level for years and years and years. George Karlaftis, he's doing what most want out of an edge rusher, where you get in the backfield a ton, you are constantly pressuring. That's a good thing. It's the same. I've always made this comparison of in baseball, it's like hitting the ball hard.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing what you're supposed to do. There is some bad luck involved. It's not quite the same for an edge rusher, but if you are constantly pressuring the quarterback, forcing them to roll out of the pocket, make a mistake, then you are doing what you're supposed to do. But for a lot of fans, and this, I'm going to include myself here, what I care about is sacks. If I look at in the box score and you got a 2-sack game, I don't care how many pressures you had. You had 2 sacks. If you have 1 sack in the game, you stand out to me. And the same way for the offensive line. We don't really pay attention to them when they do their job, when they're not being shown, when their name's not being called, when there's not a flag on the play. But when they do get beat, they do have that penalty where, they suck. They didn't do their job there. They are hurting this team. For the edge rushers, if you are not having your name called and nobody's talking about you, it's like, they suck. They are not doing what you're paying them to do. And Karlaftis, 6 sacks, you want to see more than that. He's had a ton of quarterback hits. He's had a lot of pressures. But for many people, you can do that all game long. I don't care if you have 50 pressures in the game. If you have no sacks to go along with that, then you aren't doing what you need to be doing. And he's also more of a stout edge rusher. He's not Chris Jones, who's 6'6", and has these long arms that if he's pressuring, he can bat a ball down. When was the last time George Karlaftis has batted a ball down? That's what we love to see, too.
He used to be. You know what's funny? You're right. This year, now that you mentioned that, good point.
You can't remember.
Because I used to call him George Karswadis.
Yeah.
It was a dumb name, and I fully embraced the dumbassery that I provided with that nickname. But I was like, George Karswadis. That guy gets the ball knocked down a lot. You're right. This year, I cannot remember him doing that.
And that's a part of it where if you're not getting the sacks, but you're getting the pressures, well, I'd love to see you knock down a few throws because that can discombobulate a quarterback, and you are being so active in the backfield, you're causing chaos. And to that contract, I love that you bring it up because he's not being paid like Myles Garrett. If he was being paid like Myles Garrett and he has 6 sacks,
we'd have a different conversation.
There's no way we could spin the damn thing. But you said Gregory Rousseau, and that was the first guy I looked up while we went to break. He's making around that money. Rousseau's got 6 sacks this year.
Yes.
He started in all 15 games he's appeared in this year. And, yeah, he's not a game wrecker. Neither is George Karlaftis. And I guess if you're on the opposite side of this and you are being negative, it's more so that you just don't believe he should have been given a contract, period. Not so much upset about the money involved.
But then when you get to that conversation, I go, if Karlaftis was not on this team, oh my goodness, how bad would this defensive line be? Like, this is where the Chiefs have put themselves in a difficult spot of, I don't think it's an overpay for Karlaftis again. I think this is the market value, right? If Karlaftis were to hit the open market last year, this is the contract he would have received. Again, Rousseau, I think the names I listed, this is the going rate for the player of the caliber of George Karlaftis. He's not excelled. He's not overwhelming us. He's whelmed us. This is the okayness that it has been. But when the Chiefs cannot draft or identify talent on the defensive line, then you have to keep these guys. You're not saving money. It's not like the secondary when you're able to move on from Justin Reed and Tyrann Mathieu and Juan Thornhill and L'Jarius Sneed and Trevarius Ward, and you're not forced to overpay guys or even just pay a market value. You have to on the D-line because if you did not have George Karlaftis this year, and that's what I've seen some people say, well, they shouldn't have signed him. All right. Yeah, then Mike Dana and Charles Omenihu are your starting edge rushers.
It would have been arguably the worst defensive line in football if you didn't have it. I mean, Chris Jones.
Seriously, they would have. I think the Falcons last year had like 12 sacks.
No,
15.
It would have been around that. I mean, that has been the number, even more so in the running back room, which then I guess leads us to the point of what do you take with the top 10 pick? Do you take a defensive lineman? Do you take a running back? I know the sexier pick is the running back. Everybody's brought up Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. But to me, with this defense, the fact they couldn't get to the quarterback against the Chargers, right, and Justin Herbert, that was the worst offensive line. You could make a case of that. The worst offensive line they faced all season long and still couldn't cause all kinds of pressure on him, not winning the one-on-one battles. And it was a head-scratcher when they brought back Derek Nottie for a 7th-round pick. I mean, I thought Mike Pennell was going to be...
Round. Was it 7th or 6th?
If it was a 6th round, it's even worse. I thought it was a 7th-round pick.
Was it a 6 for a 7th swap or something like that?
Might have been something like that.
It was something with a swap.
Yeah, swapping of picks. It was unnecessary to do. I mean, Mike Dannon just hasn't had the type of year. You missed not having Turk Wharton on the interior, and he could shuffle around a little bit.
Now, injuries happen. Omar Norman-Lott,
yes.
if we're being fair.
He probably could have been the 3rd best pass rusher on this team.
But he is not fixing this defensive line.
No. And so you bring up that point of you don't have George Karlaftis. Is this a 12 to 13 sack team? Does Myles Garrett double the amount of sacks that you have by himself? It is a glaring problem of this team. And, yeah, it goes back to their ineffectiveness, their inability to draft and develop an edge rusher. George Karlaftis was a first-round pick, too.
Yep.
So but after that, they have not hit on anybody to be a premier edge rusher, and you got to have those for an elite defense.
And this is where I come to the conclusion, or my thought process here, is this Veach or is this coaching? And it's the same reason why I've said I put this more on coaching than Veach, because I think Spags is the guy saying, I want the Gelatis, I want the Danas, I want so-and-so. I don't want those bendy fast guys because they don't set the edge. And I'm not saying fire Spags, but we're allowed to criticize. I think Spags is making life so much harder on himself because the fact of these are the guys he likes that don't get these quick pressures. They don't get a ton of sacks. So what has to happen? He has to send extra guys. Well, he does a great job at sending blitz packages that confuse quarterbacks. There's no denying that. There's no denying that Spagnuolo is a hell of a DC. But he's forced to do these things because you can't get pressure with 4 because the type of edge rushers you like are not built to do that. So I think Spags is making life so much harder on himself. And this is, again, why I go, this is more on the coaching staff than Veach. Because I think Spags is the guy saying, hey, I want you to draft this guy. You're going grocery shopping, and I'm sitting near the shopping list. That's how I'm viewing this. And I could be off base. I could be totally wrong. But when was the last time you've seen, hey, yeah, let's get Nick Bonito.
That's the first guy I thought of, a speed rusher like that.
And this is if you want a Royals comparison here, the Royals are now doing this shift. They are doing this shift. I don't think they would have drafted Jack Caglione 5 years ago. I don't think they would have done it. That's not their style. That's not who they go for. That's not a speedy middle infielder. Because back in the day, Yordan Alvarez is the guy I go to. They never would have touched Yordan Alvarez. Because why? Doesn't play defense. He hits home runs, obviously average. That's just not who he's slow. That's not who they go. He's not athletic. That's not who they go for. But the Royals have shifted. I firmly believe that they have shifted. They've changed. And part of it's the same organization. It's the same. J.J. Piccolo was, under, oh my gosh.
He's Dayton Moore's right-hand man.
Yes. Dayton Moore's guy. But he changed. He evolved. Schematic shifts. The Chiefs need to do this. I'm not saying fire them, but we can criticize. And this is where I'm at. Spagnuolo, same thing. Andy Reid, same thing. I think Andy Reid, personally, I've seen a lot of this, and there's a big back and forth of Veach, Andy, Patrick, and people are all throwing buckets in. I think we take Patrick out of the equation here. Anyone who is blaming Patrick for this season, I think you're misguided. Was he perfect? No. Was he to blame for some of the issues? Yes. But he's not the main reason why the Chiefs are where they're at.
This needs to become a situation where you make it easier on him. You got to stop viewing him through the lens of a 25, 26-year-old quarterback with a Hall of Fame tight end and a Hall of Fame wide receiver. You need to find a collection of players that take so much stress off of him. Yes, he can elevate other players. He can elevate, a fourth wide receiver. He can elevate a number 3 tight end. He's got that capability. I've made this comparison before, so I'll use it again here. Tom Brady and New England had the massive feud at the end because they weren't giving him help. Yeah. He was 40-plus years old. Now, I know Patrick Mahomes isn't there, but it was this, you're the Hall of Fame quarterback. You're supposed to elevate these guys. We're not going to go get you another number 1. We're not going to get you that explosive running back. The Chiefs need to do that well before you get to that point. We've had 3 straight years where the offense has taken some steps back. Now, some of that is inevitable. You get Travis Kelce getting older. Some guys get banged up. I get that happens. But now you need to have this overhaul of, Patrick Mahomes is now going to be on the other side of his career. He's on not the back 9 of his career, but kind of a little bit. He's not the spring chicken anymore. He's been starting in the NFL for 7, 8 seasons. Make it easier on him. Go out there and get him the help where, if the Chiefs, reload this offense and make it somewhat comparable to 2018, you'll get those jokes again of, system quarterback talk. But I don't care about that anymore. I would rather look at an offense that everybody's open again. Everybody can be explosive. And this needs to become that second part of hopefully another dynasty of you got to find different ways to invent this team. You can't be stuck in the past. And you certainly can't just get comfy and say, come on. We did go to 5 out of the last 6 Super Bowls. It's very hard to do that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of teams can say they've done that. Absolutely. But now that you've had a season like this, let's make things easier. Let's invest a lot in helping Patrick Mahomes. And if you want to put blame on him and making some bad plays, bad decisions this year, it's because there's not a lot of help around him. And there hasn't been now the last 2 seasons, at least offensively.
So the one pushback I give to that, okay, they have invested at wide receiver. Not necessarily monetarily, but draft capital-wise. First rounder in Worthy, second rounder in Rice, now a 4th rounder in Jalen Royals. If you want to say Juju and Hollywood, I'm not going to. Those are guys that are on most teams, right? Those guys are, that's the DeAndre Hopkins now on the Ravens.
Yeah.
Those are the veterans that you fill at the back of your roster with. I'm okay with. But they did spend a first rounder and a second rounder in back-to-back drafts on receivers. and then a 4th rounder this year, so that's not a huge investment, but it's something. They've spent a lot of money on the offensive line. 1st rounder left tackle, 2nd rounder left guard, highest paid center, highest paid guard, and then a very, very highly paid right tackle and a very highly paid swing tackle. There's investment. We can't say there's not. But then it comes down to scheme, or are they not identifying the right guys? Because what you don't want to get into is what the Bengals have gotten into. Now, we can talk about the numbers that Joe Burrow puts up. We can talk about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all we want. But what it comes down to, what is the deciding factor of that team? Their defense is atrocious.
Yeah.
Because they don't spend money on it. They don't draft there. They don't care. They want to make Joe Burrow happy and put up these gaudy numbers. That's not how you win football games. Why have the Bills been closer than the Bengals? They spend money on the defense. They care about the offensive line. And who's he throwing to? It'd been Mac Hollins for a while.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel is a guy there. They did spend a early second on Ken Coleman, and he's been a healthy scratch. Khalil Shakur's their wide receiver 1. They moved on from Stephon Diggs because they wanted to spend that money on the offensive line, running back, obviously, with James Cook. Very fair, James Cook. But again, I think that the Chiefs have got it right in what they're trying to do. Patrick, fair not, can elevate weapons. He can't elevate the defense. When he's running for his life on the offensive line, it's tough to elevate players. He did have incredible numbers with MVS, Sky Moore, McCall Hardman as his wide receivers, Justin Watson. I get it. It's not fun. It's not sexy. But when you can win games 28-21 versus losing games 38-35.
To me, it does feel that you got to take a little bit out of the playbook from Buffalo, where I know that the Chiefs are 4-0 against them in the postseason, but I also look at that Bills offense, and yeah, you're exactly right. Since Stephon Diggs left, or since they moved him to Houston, and now he's in New England, of course, you know, the Bills have not really brought in that true number 1 again. But what they have had is one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
And for the Chiefs, maybe that's what, you know, I've been going back and forth on what they really need. Now, I feel they need an elite edge rusher. I'd also be lying if I said that a Jeremiah Love pick wouldn't excite the hell out of me because he's a big name. But I also understand that's a reckless way of doing business. When you're doing mock drafts 4 months before the draft and you really like one guy because he's on a great college team, he was one of the better backs in college football, you fall in love with that type of pick. But if they took him at 10 or 11, whatever spot they would be in, and he becomes that great pass-catching running back, an explosive 18 to 25 carry, guy a game, then maybe you do look closer to Buffalo with that offense. And if they have invested in a receiver, maybe that was, I can walk that back a little bit. You have Rashee Rice. You're hoping Worthy can progress. Maybe you can land another wide receiver to replace a Juju or somebody to really give you.
That's why you wanted to see if Jalen Royals could do anything, because can he be a guy? But no, you wanted to see 91% of Juju just because why not? Yeah.
So maybe these two games can bring that more to light. But I do feel that what's held this offense back the last 3 years is just not having somebody you can rely on to set the tempo in a running game. And when you don't have that, look, you then have to have the best route runners in the NFL. And I feel Rashee Rice and Worthy can be really good route runners. They're no Tyreek Hill and how he was able to get open. But you want to get some of those guys open. You want to scheme them open. It comes from having a running back that might be able to go over 100 yards in a game and not take them 28 to 30 carries to get it done. James Cook is that perfect example in Buffalo. They don't need a bunch of number ones in the receiving game. They just need to have a top 5 running back in the NFL paired with one of the greatest quarterbacks in this league and maybe we've ever seen. And that's why they still can put up 30-plus points a game and win some of those big tests on the road.
Yeah. Field Yates of ESPN will join us after this break. Before we get there, real quick, let's wrap up here. We've talked a lot of Chiefs. We'll talk a lot more Chiefs with Field Yates. Thoughts on the college football playoffs, Jack? Obviously, Oregon trouncing James Madison made it, ripped the over late because James Madison decided to score a whole bunch of points late. Alabama getting it done against Oklahoma after Notre Dame fans took a victory lap in the first quarter because they were down 17-0. Ole Miss basically just running back what was the first game of the year, Ole Miss versus Tulane, 41-10. And then Miami, Texas A&M, a ugly game, but a fun game, even though it was 10-3 game. A lot of wind, a lot of missed field goals, but Miami gets it done.
I will say that I enjoy the atmospheres of the college football playoffs. I mean, to see College Station like that, to see Norman like that, Oxford like that against Tulane, Autzen Stadium in Eugene. That part of college sports is always going to be fun. Here's what I'll say, though. If you want to continue putting the James Madisons of the world, or the Tulanes of the world, and they deserve a chance to compete, it can't be on these campuses. And that's the really tough part about it. I don't see them ever being able to go into Oregon and winning that game. Yeah. I don't see them going into Tuscaloosa and winning that football game. The only way that can happen is in the same way it does in the NCAA tournament, is you put it in a neutral site spot where then but you lose then the great atmosphere. So I understand that part of it. And also if you're a team that gets a home playoff game, it's like, well, then what's the point of even being it if I have to go to a neutral site event?
Yeah, what's the point?
It's also the NCAA tournament. Then if you get a good draw, like if Ole Miss and Tulane played in the Superdome in Louisiana, yeah, it's closer to Tulane, but Ole Miss is probably still going to win that football game. But you're not going to get these big blowouts. They still could happen, but I feel that when you put these smaller schools on the road, it's why those games happen in week 2 and week 3.
Yeah,
they're not really going to change that. So I don't know. It seems like it's such a mess with the college football playoffs, and it's bad for the committee that back-to-back years, this is what's happened. We've had these great Cinderella stories all season long, only for them to get walked all over by the 4th or 5th best team in the SEC, and that's a problem right now when you have a 12-team playoff.
Yeah, again, I don't know how you change, because then what's the point of playing the games if you are a smaller, like for James Madison or Tulane, then why if you're never going to have a chance, then why would you play? But I also love the home games. I get your point, but to me the home games make this college sports. It's the one thing that really stands out from the professionals, even though it really is professional sports now at this point. I mean, if you're the 5 seed, hell, I would like to be a 5. If Missouri ever seen this opportunity, I almost say I would rather than be a 5 than a 4, because you know how much fun it would be at Faurot Field to host a playoff game? It would be absolutely electric.
It'd be incredible for any one of our local teams to host a playoff game. You put it under the lights. I mean, it's a notch up, and you're getting to play another team who's close to being undefeated, if not undefeated, like one of those smaller schools. But yeah, I also
keep it at 12. By the way, keep it. I think my main takeaway was keep it at 12. Don't expand. Keep it at 12.
Here's my issue though: is it's also taken away the importance of bowl games. Teams that have won 9 to 10 football games are opting out of bowl games because it's not the national championship. Where in the past, the BCS era, you'd have those 2 teams, and it was always Alabama and somebody, but teams cared about getting to the Fiesta Bowl. Teams cared about the Cotton Bowl. Teams cared about the Orange Bowl back there, where now it's like, oh, if we're not in the playoffs, then this doesn't matter at all. And that really does hurt college football.
Yeah, besides the Pop-Tart Bowl, baby, get those sprinkles on the helmets. Jack Johnson, really appreciate it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Field Yates of ESPN will be our guest. The Zone. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we start looking ahead to round number 2 in the college football playoff. We start looking ahead to the Chiefs, 2 games remaining. Missouri, your moment, it's here. Finally, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, live in your state. And now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays. We'll see what the Chiefs end up doing on Thursday. Money lines, maybe just go with the Broncos on that one. Props, maybe a lot of the unders on the Chiefs with the offense. We'll see. And more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. And Missouri fans know about game day, the tailgates, the noise, the passion. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action. Powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 810WHB. New Missouri customers, bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code 810WHB. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, joined now by Field Yates of ESPN. Sorry, Field, I'm not Jason, but I think we'll have some fun on this little pre-holiday show.
Yes, sir, we will. I believe that the first time I visited this season, Jason was unavailable. I think it might have been a family commitment. On top of that, the last time that we talked during this calendar year, Jason isn't around, which means that truly, Sterling, it's only you and I that care about the people.
We care about the people. We want to talk down and break down the basically 2012 version of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's do that. Yeah, it's definitely a different time right now that we are in for Kansas City. As a matter of fact, as we think about Thursday nights, like there are definitely many more questions than answers, right? It felt yesterday like the team, and I think it probably felt on, I guess it was Friday when they submitted their injury reports. Like this was a team that in every way, shape, and form was going to take the bigger picture approach to the rest of this season as they move towards an off-season of likely great change. What kind of change that will be is to be determined, but there's no two ways about it. This upcoming off-season looms as a monumental one for the Chiefs to look to retool and get the Patrick Mahomes-led dynasty back on track, because obviously this season has become a lost one.
So, Field, we know that change is going to happen. We know there's going to be a lot of different players involved that will not be here on this current team next year. Yet you see Juju Smith-Schuster play 91% of snaps, and Jalen Royals, your fourth-round rookie, plays 3 snaps. Jeffrey Bassa doesn't play a single snap. He was your fifth-round draft pick this year at linebacker. No Leo Chenal, so you think, oh, linebacker out? We'll see Jeffrey Bassa. Isaiah Pacheco, who we all assume, I think with rightfully so, not going to be here next year, was being used like he's prime Christian McCaffrey, yet your rookie running back does not get a single carry in this game. So, Field, I don't know. I left this game more confused than anything else.
All right, so I guess I need to quickly stand corrected when I said that pretty much everything they did yesterday reflected the team as looking towards 2026 and taking the bigger picture view, because you're accurate in all of your assessments with what you just said. It felt like Kareem Hunt got the treatment that we would expect for guys that are not likely a huge part of the future, but Isaiah Pacheco did not. There are definitely some surprising things. I don't want to assume this is the reason why, but it's also possible that young players just aren't quite ready to take on a larger role for whatever reason. So I wonder if Thursday and then again the following Sunday against the Raiders might be one where you start to see more of those young guys. I do think there's probably a touch of, and Travis Kelce is maybe the hallmark or sort of the standard in this regard of, you do have guys who either will figure into the future going forward, like a Nick Bolton who's out there flying around yesterday, or a guy like Travis Kelce, whose end is probably near, whether it's after the next 2 games or after another season or 2, where you feel like you still kind of owe to them a little bit of what has been all the success for the past decade. Is that, we don't want to let these guys not go out how they prefer. But, I do think it behooves them to get an extended look at some of those players. You're right. I mean, not that one season defines a player's NFL career by any stretch, but it'd be nice to have a pretty good stock or a feel for the stock you have in 2 day 3 picks in both Jeffrey Bassa and also Jalen Royals, a couple of guys that you probably came into the season thinking there was at least a chance they could crack the, I'm going to use the word rotation, which is more of an NBA thing than it is a football thing, but still, maybe we see more of that over the next couple of weeks, especially in Week 18, when there's a chance that the Raiders are 2-14 going into that game. And if they win that game, the Raiders, they would get to 3-14. The Bills last year had a similar situation with the Patriots, where the Bills went to Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play and kind of just rested guys. And the Patriots moved from pick 1 to pick 4, which was a valuable thing for Buffalo because the Patriots would have had the capacity to trade down from pick 1 and get a lot of assets. I'm not saying the Chiefs would go into that game and expect to or hope to lose, but if you're taking the bigger picture approach, there could be a silver lining where a Raiders win in Week 18 might be a big win for the rest of the division.
So, Field, I didn't think the Chiefs could out-tank the Titans, but now I think that happened. I think the Raiders are fully in play to out-tank the Raiders, because I actually don't think the Chiefs tried losing, and they still got waxed by the 2-12 Titans, who now have 3 wins. I mean, that again is kind of the frustration that I was left with. Of they played a lot of the veterans, especially defensively, and they just got carved up. I guess a takeaway I had, and I think a lot of fans in Kansas City who have criticized Patrick. Now, again, I don't think Mahomes was perfect this year, but there was a little bit of, has he regressed? Is it scheme? Is it, what has happened basically to see Patrick go from the otherworldly creature that he was to merely a phenomenal human quarterback? And I think yesterday made you realize how much Mahomes really covers up. Were you left with that same takeaway, or was it a different main takeaway?
Yeah, I would say that's probably in line with where I am at, is that, it's simultaneously a little bit discouraging because it means the roster has a lot of work to do, but it's also encouraging in the sense that, hey, you get number 15 back next year, get you up, right? It may not be right at the beginning of the season. I certainly inferred, and this may be a dangerous game to play, but I inferred from a player having surgery the day after he tore his ACL with one of the foremost doctors in the country on ACL surgeries as a signal that this player fully plans to. Whether he can do this or not remains to be determined, but plans to do everything in his power to be back for week 1 of next season, and you have Mahomes, you have a chance. So I think that there are 2 things. That would be my one takeaway, is the roster, definitely has some work to do. The other thing that I would say, and this is something we've talked about for a few years now, and it was almost like a year too soon, or maybe even a couple of years too soon. The depth of the AFC is different now compared to where it has been for the last decade. I'm not saying there haven't been good teams that have gotten in the way of Kansas City. They've had to earn all of these trips to the Super Bowl. They had to beat the likes of Buffalo and Baltimore. Or I think that, at least in the case of Baltimore, the Bills might still be back next year, and they still might be the second best team in their own division. The Patriots have a very strong chance to finish with not just an AFC title this year, but also a top 2 seed in the conference. So the road will be a little bit more difficult going forward, because it's not just 4 quarterbacks that we are concerned with in the AFC, meaning Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You can also add to that list, I think it's fair to say, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence with the way that he has played, C.J. Stroud with the way that the Texans have played recently, and Bo Nix and Justin Herbert as well. So it's a much different sort of looking conference compared to where it has been for quite some time.
Field Yates of ESPN is our guest. I want to talk a little more general NFL with you, especially some of the games that were just wild, ridiculous, and fun over the weekend. Final Chiefs question for you. I guess I've come to the conclusion, and maybe you disagree on the national side of things, so this might be a fun conversation. I think that the reason why the Chiefs are where they're at, especially offensively, is this is the same scheme from 2022. I think Andy Reid in 2022 revamped the offense post Tyreek Hill, because that was the trade that happened, right? And Patrick was phenomenal. The offense was humming, 5,250 yards, maybe the best year Patrick had in the NFL, but it's the same offense. They won a Super Bowl. So then in 23, they ran it back, and they won the Super Bowl again. But after the Super Bowl, what happened? Patrick said it wasn't very fun because the offense felt like it was a slog at times, but when you win the Super Bowl, what are you going to do? You're not going to change anything. So they go into 2024, and they have the same offense, and it is gross, but variance is in their way. They win all these close games. They make it back to the Super Bowl, but lose. Well, they've gone to 3 straight Super Bowls, so why would you switch anything, right? That'd be absurd to change things. So they go to the same game plan into 2025, and then the wheels fall off. That is my philosophical idea on this. I don't know if you have a different one, but to me, this is the same offense that we're seeing in 2025 that we saw in 2022, and the defenses have adjusted.
Yeah, not only do I think you're correct, I think you're completely correct. And I was talking last week with Jason about how there is no such thing as a good thing when Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL and LCL, but one of the challenges it presents you that if you handle that challenge might, in the long run, also allow for a little bit of growth. Is it, again, no good things here, but if you're going to try to grow from this, it's going to challenge you to see, all right, how much of what we are doing is covered up by the brilliance of Patrick Mahomes and number 15. And I think that this year, and Patrick obviously has played, and nearly 14 of the 15 games they have played so far this season. That being said, there's going to be a lot of looking in the mirror this upcoming offseason for Kansas City, because the idea that you can just bring it or run it back and do it all over again and expect some level of success is clearly ill-fated, right? This team is just not, right now, as constructed amongst the AFC's very best. Now, I know that feels different, and we were talking about them a couple of months ago as a team that, no matter what the record is, as long as they still have a chance to make the playoffs, they are a team that nobody wants to play. Well, the NFL is a little bit of a week-to-week league or month-to-month league, and I think that it's fair with the events that we have seen through the first 16 weeks of the regular season to say that this Chiefs team is not in that same category. So whether it's scheme, whether it's where you allocate your resources, whether it's different approaches that you bring to the offensive table that maybe haven't been a staple of your offense or your system for a long time, those all need to be addressed this upcoming season, because expecting things to change by just bringing the same sort of core back, that's not going to change, I don't believe, the big picture outlook, which is that this team is definitely good. It can be very good, obviously, but the AFC is too good now to kind of expect the same results with bringing the same process back.
Field Yates of ESPN is our guest, talking national NFL now. Jaguars, they hammer the Broncos 34-20. I think a big takeaway is Bo Nix. I don't know if he's an elevator for that organization. I guess the other takeaway is, are the Jaguars really turning a page? And is Trevor Lawrence turning a page after a couple of really good back-to-back performances? I thought that game just had a lot of maybe meaning as we head towards the playoffs with, again, no Patrick, maybe no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow. Yes, you have Josh Allen, but for the most part, the AFC playoff picture is fairly wide open for anyone to take. In that game in particular, what did you learn?
Yeah, I think what I learned is just further evidence this Jaguars team is for real. And, doing it on the road, the Broncos came into that game as the only team in the entire league that had not lost a home game all season. Say goodbye to that streak as Jacksonville took care of them, and I thought relatively handily as well. To make a bigger picture observation about Jacksonville than to get a little more into what we've seen, if you had told me that the Jaguars' biggest move of the offseason, personnel-wise, would provide them with minimal results, I'd probably tell you there's no way they'd be 11-4, but that's the case, right? I mean, when we think back to the 2025 Jacksonville offseason, I don't think it's a stretch to say that the clearly most discussed move was trading up in the draft for Travis Hunter. He's been on injured reserve for a handful of weeks now, and he wasn't exactly a gigantic factor prior to that injury. So this team has come a long way in a short period of time, and they're extremely tough defensively. They have been outstanding against the run, but I think the real thing that's helped change the perception is, this team's quarterback is just playing lights out right now. Trevor Lawrence is playing, the best football of his career, or right there for the best football of his career over the past 4 games specifically. He's been excellent, and he came into the NFL with tons, and of course, tons of acclaim. So it's not a total mystery that a guy like that can be performing at a high level, but it's been really cool to see Trevor Lawrence kind of piece it all together. And, I think this team is one that, certainly has some of the fear factor now that I'm not sure there is a clear and obvious team that teams at the top of the AFC want to face. I don't know if there is one of those that falls into that category. But Jacksonville is part of a crew that definitely fits into the other category we talk about all the time, which is a team you don't want to see in January.
Yeah, Britton Strange came back healthy now. He looks really good at tight end. Parker Washington occasionally pops off. But I think that Jacoby Myers trade midseason has been one of the most underrated trades in the entire NFL. I think that's
very stabilizing, right? He's just, it's sometimes coaches will tell you, and I always think of this in my interactions with offensive line coaches from the past, is, listen, the ideal world is you get 53 players who are all A-plus talents. That's not how football works, right? And sometimes a coach would trade a guy who maybe in talent is B or B+, And he's just that same guy every single day, as opposed to the player who every third day is an A, every other day is a C, with the occasional D or F mixed in as well, right? And it feels like Jacoby Myers is one of those guys that, is he a pure number one wide receiver? No, I don't think so. You don't build an offense around Jacoby Myers, but he is a heck of a complimentary wide receiver that has really helped stabilize Jacksonville's offense. They were near the bottom of the NFL, I guess top of the NFL, depending on how you would look at it, dropping a lot of passes. And Jacoby Myers is one of the steadiest receivers, just excellent hands. So he's been a really impactful trade for Jacksonville. And, I know that it's not like there was anything that prevented them from doing this, but I just love the fact that they've already got a new deal in place with Jacoby Myers, right? Because the price they paid doesn't feel nearly as significant, fourth and a sixth for a rental versus a guy that's going to be around for 3 more seasons, to me, has already changed the calculus of the trade. So a big fan of a lot of things Jacksonville is doing right now, and a ton of credit. Liam Cohen, maybe because that hire was somewhat of a unique situation, right, with him kind of going and accepting the Bucs job and then rebuffing the Bucs offer and going to Jacksonville and having Trent Baalke first as the GM, and they made a decision. It was just kind of a unique circumstance all the way around. Probably wasn't discussed as much as some of the other coaching hires, Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, who, to be clear, have been absolutely sensational in their spots. But Liam Cohen's been awesome for Jacksonville as well.
Yeah. Field Yates of ESPN is our guest. Before I let you go here, Field, just want to end on this Bills conversation, okay? Is this the most pressure, one, on any team in the NFL? And if the Bills don't win this year, is there a serious conversation about moving on from Sean McDermott?
I think the answer is probably yes to both of those things. So let's just talk through it. And you and I, or everybody who observes football, doesn't have to agree with this stance, but let's just sort of spell this out pretty plainly. Josh Allen's going to enter the playoffs as the clearly perceived best quarterback in the AFC and most accomplished quarterback in the AFC, unless we get something. And you could say, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, but Rodgers at a very different phase of his career, right? But let's just, and I think Drake May is that dude. He's unbelievable. He could be the MVP this year. He's a stud. But he's not going to, no one's going to, if the Patriots go to the playoffs and win one game or lose in the first round, no one's going to say, that was a season that went by the wayside. Bo Nix in Denver, I think they are still early enough in his career, the same deal. Trevor Lawrence, I think this is a renaissance season. C.J. Stroud. There's no Lamar Jackson. There's no, most importantly, Patrick Mahomes, and there's no Joe Burrow. A lot of pressure there on Buffalo. Do I think that the grass is always greener on the coaching front? I don't, but you better believe that's going to be one of the conversations. And that comes with the territory, because what that means to me is not that Sean McDermott would deserve to lose his job if the Bills don't win the Super Bowl, but that he's had so much success that when you don't reach the very top of the mountain, those are the conversations that come along with it. So it's almost, in some ways, it's a daunting thought for Sean McDermott. In some ways, it's also a testament to what he has done and how much they have accomplished.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you, and I just find it a fascinating conversation of, do you move on from the great regular season success if you don't think he's the guy to take you to the next level? Field Yates of ESPN. Field, really appreciate it. Final little thought here. Favorite Christmas song or album?
Ooh, good question right there. I've got young children, so we listen to Disney-themed Christmas songs right now, which is I don't know if they're my favorite or not. They're just burned into my brain. I'm trying to think of if I have my own favorite Christmas album. There's and I'm sure someone curated it very carefully, but there's a Spotify country Christmas playlist that I have enjoyed when I don't have my children yelling at me to play more Moana soundtrack in the back. So when I get my peace and quiet, the country Christmas album always hits the right notes for me.
Oh, Field, I love it. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. We'll talk soon.
You as well, Sterling. Talk to you next week. Maybe Jason, whoever it is next week, I'll talk to you then.
Hey, we'll find out. It'll be a fun little game for you. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More Zone at Sports Radio 810 WHB. Missouri football might be bad, but there's some great news for you because FanDuel Sportsbook is live in the Show Me State. They are kicking things off with an incredible offer right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. Does not matter. New customers, $5. Get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. So whether it's football, basketball, hockey, or more, you can bet it all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Even for a untechnologically advanced dude like myself, I can figure it out. And they have great deals and profit boosts all year long. During the holiday season, they have been just crushing it. So many extras that they are throwing our way right there on FanDuel. I highly recommend it. It is the sportsbook I use, and I think you should as well. So, download FanDuel today or head to FanDuel.com/Missouri to join in on all the excitement. I might try and get a little something going for Monday Night Football. I had a good weekend. I had a really solid week, and I was feeling pretty good. The under on Juju Smith-Schuster got a little nervous. Dude's playing 91% of his snaps. Got a little nervous. Under still hit. Had the under on Isaiah Pacheco rush yards. He played a lot. A lot of carries. Not a ton of carries, but a lot of work. Under. Boom. That hit. And I had 40-plus yards on Xavier Worthy receiving yards. That also hit. It was a nice weekend for me. Should have gave you guys a Sterling stamp. Didn't do it. But, guys, have some fun. Join FanDuel. Again, FanDuel.com/Missouri. Because Missouri, it's time to play your game with FanDuel.
21 plus and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
wrapping up the hour here, Sports Radio 810 WHB. So, Mick Schaefer joins around 12:30. A lot of fun talking with Field Yates right there of ESPN. Some great insight just on the Chiefs as well as the national side of things, the outlook of Josh Allen and the pressure that really is, in my opinion, in kind of Fields, the pressure on Sean McDermott. This is a make or break year for him. Fair or not, it almost makes it worse for him that there's no Lamar, Patrick, or Joe. There's no excuses now.
Because if not now, when?
If not now, then when? We'll hear about the update on the Chiefs stadium side of things in the 1 o'clock hour. That will also bleed over into the program. This upcoming half hour, I'm going to talk a little college football, a little college sports with you, Darcy, on the other side. A lot of Chiefs talk. Let's talk something different. Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. Mick Schaefer joins us around 12:30. Talked a lot of Chiefs already in the first 2 hours. That was basically all we talked about, was the disaster that was them against the Titans, including them not really playing the young guys. Now, I understand they played some young guys, which, the way I said that right there reminded me of a Wayne's World joke, which I'm not going to get into right now. Darcy's laughing. I think he's seen Wayne's World, and I think he knows what I'm talking about.
I haven't, but I've heard the joke.
Yeah, we're not going to do...
Andy Reid just doesn't love his young guys. He prefers the vets.
And so that's what we saw in 3 snaps for Jalen Royals, 91% for Juju Smith-Schuster. Cooper McDonald and Jack Conklin are playing over Jeffrey Bassa. 0 carries for Brashard Smith. That was my disappointment. And we got into it last hour with Field Yates. If you missed that conversation, check it out in the podcast. It'll be there as well. Might clip it as well and just put it on my Twitter account at HomestretchKC if you want to check that out later, because I think it was an enlightening conversation on the national side of the Chiefs, as well as some of the overarching themes of some other teams around the NFL. So I do want to get into a little bit of college sports with you, Darcy, before we bring on Mick Schaefer. We'll talk a lot about the stadium around the 1 o'clock hour. We should find some more. Governor Laura Kelly is expected to speak in Topeka at 3 p.m., so you'll hear more of that during the program as well. So a lot of moving parts, moving pieces with the not just loss of the Chiefs, the disaster that was, but also the potential moving of Arrowhead to the Kansas side.
If you're a very adamant person that the Chiefs stay in Missouri, you're probably having a horrible weekend.
Not having the best day.
No.
Not having the best day. So I do want to talk a little college sports with you before we bring on Mick Schaefer, if that's all right with you.
Let's do it.
Let's start with college football and the college football playoffs. I think that was a pretty large takeaway of the weekend as well. Obviously, James Madison falling to Oregon. The game looked closer than it really was, 51-34. Alabama getting it done against Oklahoma. Right? They were down 17. You see BYU fans, Notre Dame fans specifically, taking victory laps, talking about how we should have been in here over Bama, and then all of a sudden Bama ended up winning that game. You see Tulane getting hammered yet again in the rematch this season against Ole Miss. And then you saw Miami, Texas A&M in a extremely windy matchup where kickers had no idea where the ball was going. I don't think quarterbacks knew where the ball was going, and Miami ended up winning 10-3. What was your takeaway, your main takeaways on the college football playoffs?
It was very similar to the first round of the NCAA tournament, and Jack was kind of talking about that in the first hour. For, 40 years of the NCAA tournament, there'd never been a 16 seed that beat a 1. And then it finally happened when Virginia lost, but that's kind of what we're seeing in the college football playoff. And I don't necessarily think that we should punish teams like James Madison and Tulane for winning their conference and having a very good regular season. And there is this any given Saturday mentality with football, and especially in college football, where literally anything can happen. But I'm not sure if we're really going to see any major upsets with a school like James Madison going on the road to play Oregon that had really one way to end, and that was with Oregon winning. Now, I think that James Madison actually did end up covering late, but, I mean, did anyone think that James Madison was going to beat Oregon?
No, and kind of the same with Tulane. Tulane, interesting enough, I know it's 41-10. What's funny is I think James Madison played worse than the score indicated, and Tulane played better than the score indicated. Tulane moved the ball a lot early on, and then it was back-breaking penalties, interception, turnover and downs. Tulane moved the ball early on fairly well against Ole Miss, and then just could not convert. But I don't know where they go. The one pushback I'll give is in a traditional season, James Madison is not in, and is the ACC champion.
True, and that's where things get weird. If Duke didn't win the conference, then we have a completely different conversation about who ends up.
But I'll also point out, do we think Virginia would have had a much better chance? I don't know if James Madison's, they might be better than Virginia. So I come to the conclusion of it's not just the group of 5. It's also the ACC. Now, if Miami would have won, that changes things. Because Miami, I think, was about the only school in the ACC this year that really stood out. And they didn't even win the ACC. I know we're playing a lot of hypotheticals here, right? I get that. We're also talking about a team in Texas A&M who was good in the SEC who put up 3 points at home.
Wonder if any of that was their OC taking a different head coaching job.
There's a lot at play here. There's also the conversation of James Madison, Tulane. Their coaches are gone. Ole Miss. Didn't affect them, Lane Kiffin. Moving on. They put up 41 points. But that's another conversation we have to have is 25% of head coaches in the college football playoffs are no longer on or coaching those teams, especially next year. 25%.
Well, and that opens a much larger conversation about when the college football season should start. Because once, I don't even want to say bowl season starts, because kids are already entering the transfer portal because a college semester starts in January. And so if you're not able to academically enroll, you can't play football. And so that's why they're going to have to figure this out. Kind of like with NIL, they're in the Wild West where guys can just play 1 year and then completely transfer another year and get more money, chase a bag. It's so early on in this time period that they haven't found a way to, get all the fine details corrected. And once they get those, things will be better. But, when coaches are taking different jobs and players are already hitting the transfer portal, it kind of means that you have to approach the college football playoffs like, okay, what is our roster going to look like? Are guys still here? Is our coach even going to still be here? And then you kind of get watered-down bowl games. And that's why you're seeing a lot of teams decline to play, because half their roster would rather get focused on 2026.
Yeah. And again, I do think that I have no issue with James Madison and Tulane this year being in.
I don't hate it either.
I don't know. Yes, BYU and Notre Dame would have put up a better battle against those teams. I don't argue that.
But would they have won?
Maybe not. I don't think so, personally. I think BYU had a better chance. But the point remains, there has to be guidelines in place to get group of 5 teams in. Or else what's the point of them even playing games? What's the point of them winning their conference? What's the point? Do they have to? James Madison was what, 11-1? 12-1?
Yeah.
I get it, but what else are they supposed to do to ever have a chance to play in the college football playoffs? I get it. There's an easier path on paper for them than, let's say, Missouri or K-State or Kansas. I get that. But you have to have some sort of way, or else then you're just watching SEC Big 12. Not Big 12, Big 10, sorry. Big 12 is not even going to be in the conversation. They'll get one team in. Because right now it's what you're seeing. ACC didn't even get in. Because at some point, if you are the Big 10 in the SEC, why wouldn't you just say, well, we're clearly the best 2 conferences, whether that's fact or fiction. That's how it's viewed. That's how preseason rankings are viewed, which somehow still a factor in December. So if you're the Big 10 and SEC, at some point you're sitting here, why not just make this basically us? Why not? Why not just have these guidelines and we dominate? Because the ACC, come on, look at this. Even though Miami did beat Texas A&M, but they don't care about that because they were one of the ACC champions. Big 12 had one team, Texas Tech. I just find this, this is a unpopular take. Very unpopular take by everything I've seen on Twitter and X in my mentions. I think the college football playoffs right now are correct.
In terms of just competitive balance, there is some question marks. But again, if you don't reward a team like James Madison or Tulane for going and winning most of their games in the regular season, then what's the point of them playing? To your point.
And James Madison had to have literally Duke win the ACC to take the ACC out for them to get in. It wasn't like James Madison would be in a given year. It took historical absurdity for them to even get a chance to play. So this is not normal.
Well, why are we punishing schools for winning football games? And it would have been maybe more interesting if Notre Dame, or I know Notre Dame's not your team, but they're not my team either. But if BYU got in, maybe they're more competitive in these games. But I think the result ends up being the same. I think you still see Oregon win. You still see the heavy hitters in this bracket find a way to win. And, to kind of draw a cross-sport comparison, you see upsets in the first or second round of March Madness. But then at the end of the day, it's the teams like Duke and Kansas and North Carolina, UConn, that make a run, get to a Final Four, and end up winning the whole thing. That's what the college football playoff's going to be like. But I think there's going to be less upsets. You're not going to see too many James Madisons that go on the road and beat Oregon.
Well, and again, I think to Jack's point in the first hour, and we briefly glossed over this, was you're playing at home versus a neutral site. College basketball, March Madness, neutral site versus at home, which, by the way, I love in college football. I love the fact that the first round, 4 games are home games. That, to me, is incredible. And if that changes, I will be irate. That is such a fun college experience. Imagine being a student or an alumni of said school. Imagine going, again, Lebo, Oklahoma. You know how insane that is? I know they lost and all that, but
what an experience.
The experience, the build-up, the lead-up to that has to be unlike anything. And again, I get it. Some people don't care as much about college sports as they do professional. Understood. If you didn't go to Kansas or K-State, you're like, I don't really care. I went to Mizzou. I love Mizzou. As an alumni, that would be one of the greatest events of my life, seeing Missouri host a playoff game. Will I ever see it? Probably not. Because when I die, I want Missouri to be my pallbearer so they can let me down one more time. Okay?
I'm a Kansas football fan, so I understand.
So, you get it. But just the opportunity is there. It's why I said I would actually rather be a 5 seed than a 4. I know, grand scheme of things, you probably don't. But you get all that extra money, all the revenue, all the fun, all the excitement of hosting a playoff game. It's why I say this is a very unpopular take. I think the college football playoffs is currently set up correct. 12 teams, no more.
You can't have 14. You can't. I mean, already they've expanded to a point where if 1 or 2 more teams get in, then the games are going to be even more watered down. And I just don't think that's good for the sport. But to your point about the college atmosphere of having these games at home, and even as the road team, think about what making the college football playoff did for Tulane, did for James Madison.
Yes.
Their schools are forever changed.
Yes.
Based on 1 year. And that is the beauty of college sports. When you see, I make so many comparisons to March Madness, but when you see a 10 seed go on a run to the Elite 8 or the Final Four, the financial incentive that these schools get, I mean, they're still benefiting off of the one run from like 4 years ago. St. Peter's is still benefiting financially from that run. And that's the beauty of college sports.
And my other takeaway from this is, one, Ole Miss is who I thought they were, which is a team that can put up some points, and defensively, yikes. Again, 10 points, but you look at, again, if you watch that game, it looks a lot different than I think the 41-10 final score was. I think Ole Miss left some points on the board while Tulane left a lot of points off the board. Miami's defense impressed me, but I still feel like Ohio State is them in Indiana. It's kind of funny. I think of any year where a 4-team college football playoff actually made sense, it was this year. Now, I'm not saying those 4 are guaranteed to win. Hell, Oregon is favored against Texas Tech, which I find a little intriguing.
Texas Tech is a wagon.
I think so, too. But I think if there's ever a season where there's like 4 clear-cut top teams, it was this year with Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech. But you see Oregon Tech, and Tech's not your few years ago Tech. This defense of Tech is absurd against Oregon's explosive offense. You see Bama fighting and clawing their way. Something I did not think they would do. I thought it was going to be the under by a long shot. 34-24. Bama found a way. They come back down from 17-0 to win that game. OU didn't do themselves a lot of favors. There was some decision-making that was perplexing, to put it mildly. But Alabama now plays IU. Blue Bloods, huh?
just like we thought was going to happen in the preseason.
Blue Bloods, huh?
Yeah.
Bama, Indiana. Couple of college football. Been there for a long time.
Powerhouses.
And
One's got the Heisman.
And Indiana's favored. Ole Miss, Georgia. Little SEC battle. Then Miami, Ohio State. Again, unpopular take. I think the college football playoffs are correct. People won't like to hear it. People are going to hate that. I am shockingly someone who... I like disruption. I like saying, no, you're wrong. I love saying you're wrong.
A little bit of chaos. It's
I
fun.
love chaos. Don't touch the college football playoffs. I think they have a right. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Mick Schaefer's going to join us soon. We might hear from Todd Lebo. Todd Lebo is actually in Topeka right now. We might give good old Lebo a call to see how it's going in regards to the LCC meeting that's transpiring today. We'll give you some more updates in the 1 o'clock hour as well. Looks like Laura Kelly is going to speak around 3 o'clock. More updates galore on the Chiefs Stadium update. We'll talk a lot more Chiefs as well with Mick Schaefer starting around 12:30-ish. Going to be a lot of fun. Final hour and a half. A flurry coming your way on The Zone. Missouri, if you've not heard by now, you are purposely turning us off anytime that I try and tell you about this. If you've not heard by now, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like you're doing this on purpose. You're being obtuse because FanDuel Sportsbook is live in the Show Me State. They're kicking things off with an incredible offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. So whether it's football, hockey, basketball, or more, you can bet all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. You want to bet on the college football playoffs? Boom. You can do it. Monday Night Football? Boom. You could do it. NBA has been my go-to for a while, as well as I like college basketball as well. You're a hockey guy? I'm not, but you might be. You like watching Chell? You want to bet on some NHL? Do it right there on FanDuel, an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So all you need to do is download FanDuel today or head to FanDuel.com/Missouri to join in on all the excitement because this holiday season, they're in the business of giving. So many profit boosts left and right. So many revealing things. Like 4 cards you press one, you get something cool on it. I love it. Makes me excited. And it's all right there on FanDuel. Because Missouri, it's time to play your game with FanDuel.
21 plus and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. Joined now by Todd Lebo. Lebo's out here in Topeka getting some insider scoops in regards to the Chiefs' potential move to the Kansas side. LCC talking, their meeting. Should hear some conversation in the 1 o'clock hour. Laura Kelly expected to speak at 3. Lebo, can you set the scene a little bit out there in Topeka?
Yeah, we're in Topeka here at the Capitol building, just outside. It's actually the old Supreme Court room because they need a little bit bigger room for this LCC. Normally there aren't people at the LCC watching this. But 1 o'clock, that meeting starts. We expect the Chiefs to be here and to kind of okay this plan. 3 o'clock, right across the street, Governor Laura Kelly's got a big announcement set, a special announcement. No word on what the special announcement is. I'll tell you this. I was in the room over there, and the 65 toss power trap Chiefs camera is right front and center. So their gear is over there. So you put 2 and 2 together. What's it equal, Sterling?
I would assume that equals them announcing the Chiefs are moving to Kansas.
That's correct. Yeah, as we've been talking about for months, and Soren talked about Thursday on his show that this meeting was going to happen. The Chiefs were on the agenda, the Royals were not, and here we are. So you'll have the feed of the 1 o'clock meeting. You can play some of that there, and we'll have the announcement at 3 o'clock on the air. And it's big news. Obviously the Chiefs have been in the state of Missouri since the 60s. They've been at the sports complex since 72, and within a day, they're still going to be at the Truman Sports Complex through 2030. That's when their lease runs through. So this is not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but this is monstrous news that the Chiefs are going to move states. And it's all going to happen today, and we'll get all those announcements from the folks here at the LCC, and then the governor of the state of Kansas along with the Chiefs at 3 o'clock.
So, again, they're speaking at 3 o'clock, Laura Kelly as well as the Chiefs. But the 1 o'clock, what is the I guess, deciding
fact?
That's
procedural. That's the government stuff. That's the government meeting where they have to say something in there to this council. They've already passed the STAR bonds. The STAR bonds all got passed 2 years ago, honestly, a year and a half ago, and then got re-upped in June. And then the state of Kansas basically told them, here's the deal. I know these things run until the end of June, but we are going to want you to get this figured out by the end of 2025. So that's where we are. End of 2025 is next week. And so deadlines get things done. So that's what's going to happen in 1. That's the government part of it. The 3 o'clock thing is the announcement.
So I guess on the Missouri side of things, we're starting to see some things come out talking about how it's not the 11th hour, the final hour, that we've been in discussions for months. Heck, we'll put a dome on Arrowhead if they sure want one. All this stuff. At this point, it's just much too late, correct?
Yeah, this is the hay is out the barn, as it were.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Missouri all of a sudden now all this coming out, I guess you would say, just feels desperation.
They had something
Lebo.
on the ballot. They had something on the ballot in April of 2024. They were all set to stay, and the voters of Jackson County said no. So that's a long time ago. That was almost 2 years ago now. You're talking about that's 19 months ago or something. So this has been a long process to get to where we are. But at some point, this lease is up in 2030, 2031, but 2030 football season, you don't build a stadium in a day. You've got to get this figured out. Kansas didn't want to get strung along anymore, so here we are.
So in regards to the Chiefs-Royals conversation here, are you surprised that the Chiefs got this figured out before the Royals did?
No, I mean, the Royals have been trying, but they've been just getting stonewalled everywhere they go. I mean, listen, they get the mayor of Leawood says don't come. The voters said don't stay here in Jackson County. They're talking about going north of the river. They're talking about going a lot of places. So I think the Chiefs I think the Chiefs were kind of wanting the Royals to get their stuff done first, but now you just can't wait anymore. So they've made their move, and we'll see what happens next with the Royals. But the Royals are not on the agenda for this LCC. They can certainly build a stadium in Kansas as well. I mean, that was part of the reason that Kansas passed the STAR bonds, to lure them both. But right now, that is not happening yet. It's going to be all Chiefs today, and this room is beginning to fill up, so I should probably get off the phone and make sure I'm inside this room for 1 o'clock when this starts.
Hey, Lebo, appreciate it. Have fun. Let us know how it goes, and we'll take some of that live in the 1 o'clock as well as 3 o'clock hour.
All right, buddy. Talk to you.
All right, see it. That was Todd Lebo live in Topeka as we are again hearing from the monumental decision that is going to happen around the 1 o'clock hour. Again, all expectations are that the Chiefs will announce that they are moving to the Kansas side. 3 o'clock, Governor Laura Kelly will speak. And the Chiefs, again, 65 power trap, all that radio, not radio, the little behind the scenes TV. aspect
seems like a dead
is
giveaway.
there. Shockingly, again, expectations expected to pass unanimously. It's crazy how it took so long. It felt like, again, April of 2024. I remember that because I did that show. We all thought it was going to pass. We thought that the Royals and Chiefs would be staying in Jackson County. We thought Arrowhead was getting renovated. And it was a fairly strong no. And the conversation can be had, obviously, if they were split, what happens? But it wasn't like the Chiefs came to Jackson County and said, hey, we're doing all this stuff. They came and realized that, hey, we're just going to ask for basically a bridge, an activation zone, and some sweet stuff.
It makes you wonder that if the Chiefs, and more specifically the Royals, had more of a concrete plan if it would have passed and they would have voted yes.
Or if they were separate.
If they were separate, the Chiefs would have got it. The Royals not knowing where the stadium's going to be, how much money it requires. I mean, the Royals had so much of, in my opinion, so much of the blame for why it didn't pass because they tried to piggyback.
I push back on that. I've pushed back strong on that. I think everyone who says that it would have easily passed if it was just Chiefs,
maybe not easily.
Because I've pushed back. I think it's going to be a lot of the same people who just don't want to pay the taxes, who think that a billionaire should build their own stadium, but in reality, look around the entire NFL. Should they? Sure. Will they? No. They'll move somewhere else because another city will pay. Hypothetically speaking, you don't think that you don't think Omaha would pay? You don't think that Louisville or Nashville? Again, I'm just saying in general, like for the Royals, you don't think they'd pay to have a professional sports team there? 100% they would.
Well, think of the economic ramifications of two professional sports entities leaving your county.
Yeah. No, again, I just always go back to, I don't argue that billionaires are billionaires and could build their own stadium, and maybe should, but that's not reality. We can't live in the hypothetical. You got to live in the now. Live in the now. A lot of Wayne's World quotes today. That's just the point I'm making, and so there was a chance. You had a chance. Jackson County had a chance. Was it a great plan? Was it concrete? Did it make a ton of sense? But that was the chance of the guarantee. That was the guarantee. And once that failed, well, you knew Kansas was going to come strong. Hell, end of the day, the most important thing, as sad as I'm going to be about Arrowhead not being Arrowhead, the most important thing is it's still in the KC Metro.
That is the most important thing. Like, it could be so much worse. I mean, I know Nashville hypothetically wanted the Royals, and that's still a possibility, I guess. But Kansas City as a whole needs these sports teams in Kansas City, or whether it's in Kansas or Missouri. It shouldn't cause too many fans to be, jumping off the bandwagon. And if it does, go for it, I guess.
And again, when it comes, I know this is a separate conversation, but if you are the Royals and you're opposed to all this stuff, stop. Unless you literally say you don't want baseball and you want to risk them leaving the Metro, stop. Make it happen. Stop opposing change. They're not going to play at Kauffman. I don't know how many times we have to say this. They're not going to stay and renovate the K.
What if they just build a dome over Kauffman? Maybe that's what they've needed all along.
There's so much that goes into this. Again, Laura Kelly will speak at 3 o'clock. We'll hear that live, or at least at some point in the 3 o'clock hour with the program. 1 o'clock hour, we're going to hear some more. We're going to try and see if there's any tidbits we can take live. Anything that might be intriguing in regard to the Chiefs announcing that they will be moving to the Kansas side. All expectations are that. Sure seems like that's the way it's heading. That is in about 18 minutes or so. Todd Lebo is down there live in Topeka getting set up for the announcement that will be happening very, very soon. We will take a break. We will come back. Mick Schaefer joins us soon as well. The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Mick Schaefer coming in hot. Barely. But he's got his hot coffee, and that's what really matters. I'm a little up. Oh, you brought me one too? Oh my gosh!
Right there in front of your face.
Yeah, well, I didn't see. I was talking to Darcy. You were figuring, oh my gosh! You know what? Now I'm very glad
And
that
I completely ignored Darcy here. I'm sorry about that.
It's
you,
fine.
you just know what I like.
I do. And I was running late.
It's
but I
fine.
still stopped for coffee.
It's okay because that's not why you were late at all. But if you would not have brought me a coffee, I would have been like, oh man, like kind of bleep you. But now I'm like, all is forgiven.
I was shopping for my wife for a holiday coming up. She's the last one I always have.
New Year's Eve, President's Day.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Okay.
Her gift. So yeah, that's where I was. So I apologize.
No, you're fine. So again, we're gonna have a little shorter segment here because we want to make sure we get back in the 1 o'clock just to see.
Yeah, normally I'm a 1 o'clock
this.
guy.
I know. I texted you a little early. That's on me. I love your insight on the stadium talk. We were
My
talking.
insight.
We were talking with Lebo about it. He's down there at Topeka right now. We're gonna hear live at 1 o'clock. The announcement that is expected to pass unanimously, which is that the Chiefs are moving to the Kansas side. 3 o'clock. We're going to hear from Laura Kelly. A little more insight there. We're going to hear from them. The Chiefs are already down there. I think Lebo said there was a 65 toss power trap. That's their conglomerate of their video side of things. He said he saw one of those videos.
It could be just a chance that they're there.
Could
Maybe
be
they're there
anything.
every Monday. We don't know. Maybe they've just got a big old legislative project going on.
Could be anything.
In a state that they currently don't reside in. Maybe that's it.
Could be anything. And then you hear the Missouri side coming in, at least now, a little desperate.
A little late.
A little desperate. They're like, we've been talking for months about this. Well,
Never got their ducks in a row. And then the vote that didn't pass certainly didn't help.
No, and that's been a storyline which I've understood the thought process of people saying along the lines of, "Hey, well, if they were separated, it would have passed." And I kind of push back and say I don't know if it would have because I think there was such a large subset of people who were in that vote that just said billionaires should build their own stadiums, and I've pushed back on that. I go, I don't argue with the thought process behind them doing that, but we don't live in that world. We live in the reality that is if he does not get funding from a state, he'll go somewhere else to another city or state that will do that. That's the reality of the situation.
I think a lot of those people that voted were saying we're done being taxed. I mean, this is a county and a city that had been I think on average their property taxes had been raised 80%. Right. So on the heels of that, that whole entire Frank White debacle, and all the stress and the financial concern that caused, and now you're saying even though the plan was to carry on this, small tax rate just beyond the initial parameters of it, even though it's just to carry that on and not technically, add a new tax, but kind of to do that.
We're like, it's a new tax, but it's a continuation of the old tax, but it's still a new tax.
I equate to like I have a car payment. I know when it ends, right? If you add my car payment another 10 years to it, that's new to me. That's more that is more money.
Yeah.
I think it was more in relation to everything else going on over there in Jackson County and all those people being fleeced for a lot of money for a lot of reasons. And they're like, okay, we're just done with this. As well as there's a huge subsect of people that have the opinion that you just uttered of like, yeah, why? Okay, these guys, I pay $16 a beer out there, right?
Yeah.
And this to park and this for a ticket and everything, and you're worth this much, but you can't pay for everything. But on the other side, I think it accomplishes the two things that I wanted this entire ordeal to accomplish: to keep the Chiefs in Kansas City in the metro area.
Correct.
I never cared where they went, although I thought Legends the entire time made the most sense. It's funny they're going from 435 and I-70 to 435 and I-70. It's just like take a track. They're on one back stretch, and now they're going over to the other, and in a different state, obviously, and so it accomplishes that, and it's got a dome, and I think that stadium can now be worth so much more than football games and some concerts. It can be other sports, other major sporting events including the biggest, the two biggest in our country, right? Would be Super Bowl and Final Four.
So I guess
Those would be the two biggest, right? Those are the biggest things. Super Bowl and NCAA tournament, I would say, are our biggest sporting events.
yeah, World Series or
I would put NCAA Final Four. I feel like a lot of people.
okay, but the point remains very, very large events.
But in that case, you're playing at home. Whoever's playing in the home series,
Yeah,
right?
I guess the one question I think
Series.
I have, but I think I've heard a lot of is, yeah, that sounds great in theory, but how do you? Because it's not guaranteed. And how many of those do you actually get? How many Final
decade,
Fours?
maybe?
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of been a question
Which would
from
be
some
awesome.
people.
If you're once a decade in that rotation of Final Fours and Super Bowls, you're in that Rolodex of Indy and Atlanta and New Orleans and San Antonio and
for Super Bowls, L.A., Atlanta, San Francisco this year, New Orleans, because they have showed that you have to have a dome.
Yeah.
If you're in the Midwest, you have to have a Midwest.
I think a Super Bowl would come quicker than a Final Four just because of Roger Goodell's and the NFL's love for the Hunt family. And they've always kind of sided with, okay, we want to make sure the Hunt family gets the things they want. I mean, they got a draft before a lot of people got a draft.
Yeah.
Right? A long time ago, the Hunt family really wanted to play on Thanksgiving. They made that happen. They might be in the process of making the Chiefs the Christmas Day game for whatever reason, and all of them I hate.
Because the Hunts won it.
Because the Hunts won it, and so those legacy families there, I think, get favored a little bit, and they should. And so I could see if this all happens, I could see a Super Bowl coming before a Final Four.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I hope that's the case. I hope both happen, obviously. I hope more concerts will now come back to Kansas City because it feels like it's been a while that
Wow.
Kansas City has been a city that's been almost skipped over.
My idea: make that dome like the Sphere in Vegas, right? Put a big old video board
Is
up
it,
there.
that's the Schaefer Sphere?
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt they'll name it after me, but whatever the.
Well, it's because your
the
idea.
Sphere.
So I think they've not thought of that now
Let's do it.
until
Yeah,
just now.
I'll just take 1% of the earnings. That's it. That's all I need.
We'll hear from Topeka, live from Topeka, on the other side of this break at 1 o'clock. Again, expectation, Chiefs moving to Kansas. Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Mick Schaefer, Michael Darcy. We're going to head out now to Topeka and hear what is going on in regard to the Chiefs moving to the Kansas side. It has started.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move approval of the minutes.
I have a motion, seconded by Majority Leader Blasey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Minutes are adopted. Item number 2, authorization for certain statutory joint committees to meet during our 2026 legislative session. Revise yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gordon Self, Reviser of Statutes. This is a typical motion that's needed to be made every year. There are statutory joint committees that, typically we think of them meeting in the interim, but there are certain joint committees by statute that have responsibilities during the session, and it requires approval by the LCC for them to meet. Examples are the Bob Bethel Committee and the Rules and Regs. There's a number of committees that's by statute. So just need a motion to approve that they're able to meet during the 2026 legislative session.
Speaker Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we authorize certain statutory joint committees be able to meet during the 2026 legislative session.
I have a motion by the Speaker, second by Majority Leader Blasey. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3, considerization, and possible approval of requests for House standing budget committees to meet prior to commencement of the 2026 legislative session. Speaker Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to give a little bit of a narrative on this so everybody understands what's going on. We are going to bring in our budget committees the week before session starts with the express purpose of them having hearings on all fee-funded agencies. So those are quite a few. There's a bunch. And this will allow us to be able to move through the budgeting process much faster and spend more time on the budget items that have to do with our state general fund. So therefore, Mr. President, I move we approve 7 days for House budget committees to meet. Those budget committees are made up of Agriculture and Natural Resources budget, 1 day, Transportation and Public Safety budget, 1 day, General Government budget, 2 days, Social Services budget, 2 days, and Higher Education, 1 day. The K through 12 budget committee will not meet during that interim period.
I have a motion from the Speaker, second by Majority Leader Blasey. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're now ready for item number 4, which is consideration of matters related to a Star Bond district and project for a major professional sports complex. With this is a unique situation. I'm going to read a statement because we will take the proposal in executive session due to the sensitivity and pursuant to KSA 1217-181, Section C, and by request of the Secretary of Commerce, I determine, in my discretion as the chairman of the Legislative Coordinating Council, that a review of an agreement concerning one or more major professional sports franchises for the purposes of establishing a major professional sports franchise Star Bonds district and project for a major professional sports complex shall be presented to the council in closed session as is required and mandated by law. So at this time, it's going to take just a minute, but we will be clearing the room of everybody that was not requested to be in the meeting by the secretary. And those of you that have been requested know who you are. So we will take a minute because we'll have to clear from cameras, clear from the audience for closed session. We will let you back in. There will be no vote taken that is not in public.
So we'll have to hop away from that for a little bit, wait till they come back to let us in on that. Crazy. I didn't know that. Interesting, intriguing, closed session. I'm not a politician, so this is probably completely normal and up to code, but they could say anything and be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Sure, yeah, no, I didn't think we would even be allowed in for that, so we got a small peek behind the curtain, but it makes sense that they're going to hash this out without cameras and radio people. Not even Todd Lebo. Todd Palmer's there for us. Todd Lebo here for 810 will be allowed in there. 65 toss power trap might be, though.
Darcy, keep us updated on when it comes back, just as a heads up, because I have no idea how long it's going to be, if they've already discussed the majority of this, so I assume...
I assumed we weren't going to hear anything till 3.
Also could be the complete case. I just didn't know if they've already really talked about this. I'm sure it's not the first time they've talked about this, shockingly. Yeah. So it's like contracts, right? You know,
it's like the transfer portal. I mean, I'm jumping in. I know which 10 schools want me.
It's also like the contract. You know, it's like, you can't tamper. And then 2 minutes after the allowed conversations can start, it's like they've already signed.
Man.
So I wonder if it's going to be a 2-minute conversation, 5-minute, or if it's going to be, you're right, 3 o'clock. We'll find out. But again, this is all in regard to the Chiefs building a $3 billion domed stadium with star bonds, help of star bonds on the Kansas side. Again, looking more or less like it's going to be by Legends / the racetrack. A little nuance there in the exact spot, but that's the area.
According to Saran last night on Sunday Sound Off, he said southwest of the racetrack, but still in the northwest corner of the I-435 and I-70 corridor. So still next to the racetrack, still north of 70, still west of 435, but it'd be a little southwest of the racetrack. And then he also talked about a practice facility down in Olathe, just south of the Garmin soccer fields down there.
Oh yeah, I know that's
at K10 and Ridgeview, I believe.
Okay. I've always found it intriguing how they might not be by each other, but this is a fairly normal.
It's normal everywhere else.
And then, because the Chiefs were almost more abnormal having them by each other. Mm-hmm. When I lived in Philly, worked for the 76ers, they actually were on different, I believe they were on different states. Pennsylvania, I believe, still kept the practice facility.
Delaware?
No, it'd been the opposite. It was all the practice and business side was in Jersey because we were in Camden. Yeah. We moved from the Navy shipyard to Camden, New Jersey, while they obviously played in Philly. Yeah. So that's actually not very abnormal at all.
No, it's not. I covered the team for years when they practiced and had their locker rooms at all times in Arrowhead. That's where they were. It's where the practices were held. At that time in the late 90s, early 2000s, you're like, why do you need a practice facility? We have the grass, we have the field right here, and then that changed. They started making a lot more money, and then they built the practice facility where it is now near Arrowhead. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh man, Foxborough is close. That's where they practice and play. The Chargers and Rams do not. Their practice facilities are a ways away from Inglewood. At least I know the Chargers are. And so, yeah, it's a fairly normal thing.
It is funny how things have evolved. I remember I was talking with Scott Wedman this past week, and we had a little dinner party, and he was
Scott,
there.
Like the former basketball player?
Yeah, he was my AAU coach.
Okay, nice.
Family friends. I've known him like my whole life. And we were laughing. He goes, he sees all this stuff. He goes, now everyone watches, tape every single day after every single game, and they do all these things. He's like, we watch tape maybe 2 or 3 times a year. He was talking about on the 86 Celtics, one of the best teams of all time. He's like, we watch tape maybe 2 or 3 times a year if we really messed up. Yeah. Like if they're like, hey, we're mad, we're pissed at you, we're watching film. And now he's like, it's just funny. He just sees every single.
You watch practice of yourselves every day, let alone every second of every game of the opponent you're about to face.
Yeah, so I just found that very, very funny how things have evolved. And again, with Arrowhead, I think it kind of goes in the same conversation. How things evolve and change.
You get more money, you get more amenities, and you're able to live in more of a lap of luxury there. But it would be it's a different thing. Like where I work now was relatively close. It's less than 15 minutes to the stadiums, and now at least for the Chiefs, in 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years, it's going to be a good 35-minute drive to the stadium. And probably something similar down there to Olathe every single day going for Chiefs. So the answer is, I think Channel 41 should also leave Missouri.
Wow.
And come, just gonna find some dirt right by my house.
Just right by.
I'm right between. Ooh, maybe they should build me a studio in my basement because I'm right between. I'd be right between the practice facility and the stadium.
Well, I said I'm a selfish man, and I full credit to me for admitting this. I would love if the Royals built at like 119th.
Yeah, I
because,
think,
you know
I don't
why?
think you're thinking all the way through.
No,
yeah, you can walk
traffic,
or bike.
Traffic, yes.
You can
walk or bike.
there.
You know how electric that would be?
No, you would hate everything else,
That
though.
spot would suck.
Yeah, the
After-
sounds, the traffic, everything else.
I love the sounds of ball. Okay,
You wouldn't hear the crack of the
Baseball.
bat, buddy.
I'd hear it.
No, I don't think so.
Bobby Witt has a loud crack. I don't know if that should be marked.
I don't think you can even hear it out in the parking lot at.
The roar of the crowd.
You hear the roar of the crowd
I could
all
hear
night
Cracker
long.
Jack.
I mean, if baseball was the only thing in your life that you did every day, yeah, sure. But everything else you do in life, you would not want it down here.
Yeah, but I could also have some cutwaters and neutrals and walk there. Don't have to get an Uber. Don't obviously being responsible, not drinking and driving. So
That's
I could
still a pretty far walk.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's
Are
my
you
health.
going to walk 3
And I don't
miles
think,
casually
I don't
on a
think
Monday
you can,
night?
You can
Yes.
walk out in public with alcohol, can you?
Well, not with that
the streets.
attitude.
Well, I mean, whatever the
Legally
attitude
speaking,
is.
I don't know. I don't know what the legality is. I don't know those.
So how many games would you go to if it's right next door?
Probably 40.
40.
Probably 40.
Yeah, so 40 out of 365 days.
No, but it
Of
wouldn't
your-
suck at 40 out of 81.
No, I mean, of your life, every year, 40 of your 365 days, that's it, you would go to games. The other 325 days, you would hate.
Why would I hate it? No, I'd only
least
hate
the other 40 days
Yeah,
when they're
41
there,
days.
yeah.
Yeah, so half the time I'm loving it, half I'm hating it. That seems like a fine deal to me. Again, selfish man. Credit to me for admitting it, but I would do it. I make that trade.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Fine.
They need to end up downtown.
What if I
They
say
need that, but
you could-
this needs to spur Jackson County, Kansas City, Missouri, all the other layers of government over there to spur them into action to figure it out downtown.
Does this change your mind if I say I'd let you pregame at my house? We can
Okay,
walk
I'm
over
in.
together.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's bring it down here.
We'll get
Yeah.
a tandem bike.
for-
We get a tandem bike and we ride to cover the Royals together. See, now I have ideas.
We have beer helmets as we're riding the
Right,
bikes.
the
Okay.
helmets. We get pulled over.
Suck it
It's
through the
water.
straw.
It's water. We're healthy. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. We could have some fun together.
Yeah, no, actually, that makes it worse.
Okay.
That makes it worse.
Again, we're waiting to hear back from the LCC. They are convening it now in regards to passing, which is the assumption unanimously the Star Bonds helping to pay for the Chiefs to build a $3 billion stadium on the Kansas side.
Yeah. Now this is a historic day, man. Won't be done in time for a Thursday night game. Christmas, it'll still be over here, but
Yeah, I don't think it'll be built that quick. Yeah.
and then I mean the Chiefs.
But maybe by I was gonna say if they had 2 more home games.
Yeah.
By next Sunday.
Yeah, it's funny that the Chiefs. It seems like, especially lately, the last decade or so, everything they touch turns to gold. Even in a horrible season, there's now going to be this excitement around the organization hitting at the exact time they get eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, horrible injury, the worst game I've seen since like 2012. Yesterday,
I said that yesterday.
or since a couple times ago when they were in Tennessee.
It was
Remember that?
27-3 or something like that.
Yeah, that was bad.
I said this game felt like it was from 2012. That and people are like, no, you don't remember how bad it was. I go, no, I do. That's why I know it was.
That was as bad as 20. I mean, that's the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah,
they got spanked by.
We're not talking about them looking like that against the Bills or.
And I know they have injuries, and I know, I guess in some places they were playing some other guys, some young guys, but that's no excuse to fall that far to be spanked by that team.
Yeah, and you know who the highest snap count was for a receiver in that game?
I could probably guess.
Take a guess.
Hollywood.
Nope. He was third.
Xavier. Juju.
By a fairly
That should've been my first, yeah.
wide margin. You want to guess what percent he played?
What percentage of the snaps?
Yes.
Of the offensive snaps?
Yes.
75.
Oh, you wish. 91.
Oh, no.
91% of the snaps.
Am I correct in saying Brashard Smith didn't get a single carry and only got 1 target
Correct.
in the passing game?
Yeah, you are correct in that assessment.
1 catch for 4 yards.
Well, when you can treat Isaiah Pacheco like CMC, you might as well do it.
Listen, Sterling, last week, every Chiefs fan was saying, what do we have in Isaiah Pacheco? We need to figure that out this game.
We've never known. We've never known. He's never had an opportunity.
Yeah.
And Jalen Royals, we know who he is, too. Why wouldn't he only play 3 snaps when Juju could play 91%?
And look, I'm team go out there and try to win.
Oh, agreed.
Right, and I was team, we talked about last week, I'm like, I'm not jonesing to see Jalen Royals or a couple other guys. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater just to see a couple guys we haven't seen as much. But when you play those guys and you still get your ass kicked, okay, that's a problem.
I like saying don't throw the bathtub out with the bathwater. I'm just throwing tubs out.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw a baby out, but I'll throw the tub out.
Yeah.
I'll just throw both out, Could be fine. Yeah, that was...
This year's baby needs to be thrown out.
Yeah, it's a bad baby.
What can they get down to? They're 12th right now, I think, drafting, right? They're not going to win either of these next 2 games.
They might with the Raiders, but I thought they could. I mean, the Raiders are bad, but they almost beat, I guess...
better than the Titans. It's going to be on the road. They are 1-7 now on the road?
1-6.
1-6?
Well, the Raiders have 2 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be a close one. That'll be a barn burner.
I don't know how they can line a match for that barn burner. The Chiefs had 133 yards yesterday. 133.
And you know what, though? I'm glad we saw Jack Conklin play well over Jeffrey Bassa.
I saw that tweet. Yes.
That was nice. Down 14. Why wouldn't you? Just why wouldn't you? I mean, again, that's why I left that game so irate, was they tried. They played the veterans and still got their ass kicked, and now we still have no idea. No. Unless, hear me out, unless they are telling us they don't think that Bassa, Brashard Smith, or Royals are anything. Unless they think that those guys aren't part of the future.
I feel like we're trending in that direction. They talk. I'm shocked. Out of those 3, who'd you say besides Royals and Bassa?
Yes, Brashard Smith.
Who we've seen of those 3, we've seen Brashard Smith way more than the other 2, right? This season, and I really like what I see, and I hope he trends in the direction of playing a lot more next year. Of those 3, though, they talked Bassa up the most leading into the season. How he's like Nick Bolton. He's the cerebral type. He's the guy that is going to he wowed Spags in the meeting room talking about defenses and reads and all that stuff. And so I'm surprised out of all those guys, I can't remember a big play he's been out there for or how much we've seen him and what his snap count is, but I don't remember him this year.
Yeah, not great. Cooper McDonald played 5 snaps over him, actually, with Leo Chenal out. So that's always nice to see.
I like Cooper, too.
Well, that's fun. Yeah. This is not a knock on Cooper or even really a knock on Jack, but it's the point that remains of you have these youth pieces, and don't you want to know what you have in game action?
Sure.
So you know if they... Because if not... You might have to bring Drew Tranquil back. You might have to bring Leo Chenal back. Because if you don't trust Jeffrey Bassa now, when are you?
I would say the only pushback on that is Andy Reid. If he trusts you, he's going to throw you out there regardless. I mean, you had, who was you had Darwin, what was his name? The termite.
Darwin Thompson?
Thompson. Get carries in the Super Bowl as a rookie. Yeah, I mean, Carson Steele, whatever, get out there and play. And so I feel like maybe in Andy's mind, he's like, I don't need to develop you out there. If I believe you, I'm going to throw you out there. My biggest upset piece out of that game yesterday was like, have we been fooled? Are we just, how bad is this team without Patrick Mahomes?
And that was amazing. I asked
whole team too. I'm not letting the defense off the hook.
No,
you give up 26 points to Cam Ward.
I asked Field Yates, I go, was that your biggest takeaway? Was that Patrick was covering up a lot of atrocities apparently, because that's what that offense is without him.
And then we've talked for years of like the hardest thing to do in the NFL is stay great.
Yeah.
It's set up for you to fail the very next year, almost immediately. It is set up to knock you off your perch. It is. We're across the board, everybody equal. It is socialism, right? There's capitalism, outside the field, but on the field, right? We want everybody equal. And how have the Chiefs been able to stay? They must have drafted so well late in all these rounds, And the more I look at it, I'm like, I don't know that they have. They just had this generational talent at quarterback that has just lifted everybody up. And look, I'm drawing this from, one game, but it was that bad.
Yeah.
And you look the rest of the season, you're like, okay, was Mahomes kind of walking on water just to get this team to 6-8?
Yeah. It was, again, that was a takeaway I had.
He wasn't this year. Maybe he's walking on water last year to get this team to the Super Bowl.
And that might be the one we look at. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Mick Schaefer is our guest. We'll keep you posted on everything we hear in regard to the LCC meeting. Again, we're talking about the Chiefs looking like they're going to move to the Kansas side. Laura Kelly expected to speak at 3 o'clock. We'll come back to Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Men, if you're out there and you happen to be suffering from erectile dysfunction, now is the time to get it done and figured out. Christmas right around the corner. Give yourself that gift. Look, there are stressful times going on. You've got schedules and parties and everything going on with family and significant others, and that can just add to the stress, which could make the problem even worse. There are many conditions that can cause ED. It is not just one thing that takes place. Maybe you've tried the pills or the herbals and they have failed to try to alleviate some of those symptoms. Well, then check out Heartland Men's Health if that happens, or maybe you haven't tried anything and you want to figure out what's going on. Again, Heartland Men's Health. Treatments that work when the pills or the herbals fail. Treatments with success rates well over 90%. They have been successfully treating men in the Kansas City area. Here's what you do. Schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit, it's only $99. That includes that medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and a medically advised test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit's free. You don't pay a dime. If it does, there you go. An expert staff with 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today at 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com.
Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Mick Schaefer. We'll keep you guys posted on anything that happens, again, as this LCC meeting continues to go on. As of now, they're still in a closed session, so it might not be until the program takes over that we'll hear any more info on this. But again, the expected resolution is that the Star Bonds will help pay for a $3 billion dome stadium on the Kansas side, which is where the Chiefs will be heading. That is what we have for you as of now. What we are going to do in the meantime is play a little Learned Funniest Best, a little LFB. LFB is presented by Cutwater. Real cocktails, perfectly mixed. Create your ritual before every football game here in KC and your favorite college football game. By the way, I had a little Christmas party at my parents' house. Had a whole bunch of people over, my parents' friends. I got the invite, which is fun, hanging out with your parents and all their friends.
Are you to that age where you're
yeah,
cool? Okay.
It's fun where you're like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. My dad, he had so many Cutwaters. He had so many. He had like every flavor of Cutwater available. And I was like, Dad, I have some Cutwaters at the office I could have hooked you up with. So my dad, massive, found something new about my dad. Big Cutwater guy. Huge. He kept telling everybody, I'll make you Mai Tai. And he would just go ahead and just crack the can open, put it in like a fancy glass, and then put like one of those like fancy like dried orange slices in there, as if he just made this. And everyone's like, oh, this is delicious. Cutwater, baby. He had the lemon drop. He had the espresso martini. He had the Mai Tai. And there was one other flavor he had too, but he had a lot. It was great. So Cutwaters, it's not just for me, who's 31. It's also for my dad, and also apparently good enough to make everyone at a party think that he made it from scratch.
Yes.
So Cutwater, drink it. It's delicious. All right, Learned Funniest Best. We'll go with Learn first. I think I start this one, if I'm not mistaken, with Jason gone.
You do.
Jason, actually, you started. Jason Anderson, Texas, and what you learned. I learned that the Saints are listening to me about kickers. Like, you know how your phone listens in on you?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Non-stop.
creepy how it'll all of a sudden show up. I was talking to my friend. We were watching the football game on, was that Saturday morning, the A&M and Miami game, right? We're all hanging out, and we're laughing about college kickers and how bad they are. And then you get into the NFL, and you're like, how are these guys good? Like, where do they come from? It's very rare when you see a kicker from, like, Georgia or Bama or these power schools. It's always like Coastal Carolina or, like, these weird places, right? As we have this conversation, Adam Schefter, Saints kicker Charlie Smith, a former Gaelic football player from Northern Ireland who made his NFL debut last month, has now signed a 3-year contract with New Orleans. I thought that it's listening. The Saints are listening in. Schefter's listening to us. That's the only possible logical explanation.
Yeah, kickers, they're coming from all over. Usually Australia now.
But now apparently Gaelic. Yeah. So learn that. Mick?
So I learned the weirdest opponent every college football playoff team has faced.
Yes.
You see this?
Yeah.
Indiana once played in 1904, the Indiana Medics. In 1894, Ohio State played the 17th Infantry Regiment. Some other ones. Texas Tech beat the Notre Dame B team once. My favorite is in 1921, Oregon scored a 35-5 win over Pearl Harbor. My second favorite, 1912, Ole Miss beat Memphis High School 35-0. Now switching over.
There's a couple losses on there, aren't there?
There's 3 losses. Miami lost to Jacksonville Naval Air Station in 1942.
Yeah, baby.
Tulane lost to Havana, Cuba Athletic Club 11-0 in 1909. Cuba had it going in American football for a while there.
Yeah, they were the powerhouse for a long time.
And then James Madison, the best part isn't who they played, Shepherd freshman team. Best part isn't that they lost 6-0. The best part is that game happened in 1972. There's people in this building. Drake was alive in 1972, I'm guessing. Sren was alive then, I think. Curtis.
Fred Ball maybe covered it.
Yeah, he was a professional by then. That wasn't that long ago for JMU, but they don't have the storied
From
program.
there to the college football playoffs.
in a scant 53 years.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
Wow. I like that.
Yep.
Darcy, what'd you learn?
I learned that we have to give Patrick Mahomes the MVP award every single year, given the fact that when he isn't starting at quarterback, they just completely implode. I also just learned that the Chiefs are signing Shane Buechele to the practice squad.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
You didn't want to see Noah Gray as the backup quarterback?
No, I do want to see that, actually. I did. It'd be fun. They'll probably lose either way, so
I
at
was
least
gonna say,
that's
it
some
helped
fun.
the tank
You know
if
what,
Noah Gray
Travis?
started.
Let Travis go out with a bang. Let him play quarterback. 2 games.
Yeah.
Let him do it. I would. Mick,
I'm up.
funniest.
So, the night before the national championship game, Ferris State offered Tanner Simmons a scholarship. He's a safety.
Mm-hmm.
He is also the son of the head coach of Harding, who Ferris State was playing the next day in the national championship game. Now, Ferris State's in Michigan. Harding's in Arkansas. Ferris State has 0 Arkansas players on their roster. It's not like it's a recruiting hotbed. But they offered Tanner Simmons, the head coach's son of the team they're playing, a scholarship. And the best part was Tanner, tweeted it out. Oh, thankful for Ferris State. And give him the offer. And so, yeah, that just makes college sports the best.
Just trying to get any
Just a
sort
little
of
bit of
edge.
gamesmanship. And then I don't think they needed it because Ferris won easily on Saturday.
They're typically pretty solid in their conference or division.
They've won 4 of the last 5 national championships.
Yeah, some say pretty good.
Yes.
Some say. Did they rescind the offer after the game?
Now I bet it's still there.
Think it's legit?
And the kid was like, Dad, what do I do about this? And the dad's like, oh, tweet it out. That's funny.
Yeah. Try and see if we can get some tampering charges before the game starts, just
Something
to see
like that, yes.
if we can get some help here.
Yeah.
Funniest for you, Darcy?
It has to be all the people on Twitter that are clamoring for Tom Brady to come out of retirement and quarterback the Chiefs, as if, A, that's an option, B, he would want to come out and play for a 6-9 football team, and C, that it's an option. So you could tell I had nothing this week.
I want Matt Castle. Matt Castle wants Matt Castle, and Sterling wants Matt Castle because I can rock my Matt Castle jersey. Okay, I need to bust the Matt Castle jersey out in no better way than if Matt Castle came back. Huh? I'm just saying. My funniest, Colin Saunders tweet. Someone tweeted out a picture of Colin Saunders playing for the Jets and said, quote, "What playing for the Jets will do to a man." He looks despondent on the sideline, just devastated, Colin Saunders, just like, what did I get myself into? And Colin Saunders tweeted out, captioning that as they got hammered by the Saints, LMAO, don't do too much. This was just the Continental Bowl Part 2. We all going to be in Cancun in 2 weeks.
I wonder, do they all go to the same resorts? I wonder. I bet there's some coordination there. I bet there's a handful of resorts. All the NFL players
the
go
DBs go to one. The wide receivers,
they're so rich they can they've got their own little place. Yeah.
Do you think it's by position group? Like wide receivers go one place, D tackle goes one.
Riviera Maya for the O line. Yeah. Playa for the skill guys.
The wide receivers are constantly getting in trouble trying to be divas and one up each other.
Yep.
That seems to be the most sense. The offensive linemen are all getting along. They're all just hanging out. Like, guys, isn't this fun?
Just
isn't this
drinking
nice?
and eating pizza.
Who's wearing the
Probably not
most
pizza.
sunscreen? I feel like it's the cornerbacks. Cornerbacks are like guys. Tight ends. I think tight ends are probably all wearing the most sunscreen.
Sure.
Yeah. The most responsible ones. I think it'd be pretty good. We should do that. You know what? Instead of those reality TV shows, get all of the position groups in Mexico or on some vacation spot, videotape them. I'd watch that.
Videotape
Instead of Hard Knocks, just have Cancun.
Yeah, Cancun, off-season Hard Knocks, but not the football side, just the fun side.
By the way, have they been doing Hard Knocks all season here? NFC East, is that right?
I don't pay
I
attention.
heard an ad for it, but I forgot. They still do that, I guess. I haven't seen any of them.
You're telling me you wouldn't want to watch A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase just talk to each other? Like A.J. Brown just forgetting he's on camera because he already says what he thinks about his quarterback and the team on camera. Tell me what we wouldn't get from him when he forgets. I'm all in. Best. We'll go to you, Darcy.
My best was Steelers running back Kenneth Gainwell with the catch of the year. Did you guys see that?
That was unbelievable.
Insane.
I think it's catch of the year.
On the ground, somehow was able to get his hand underneath it and then have the control to bring it back to his body and get up and go score.
Yes. Tired is the crazy one hand behind the head catches.
Yeah.
Wired on the ground, it just falls to you, and you have the coordination to like keep it on the ground, gather it, and run it in.
How'd the ball just die there? Like how did the ball not just bounce off? It just like died in his arms.
Great hands. Some teams
who's
have
saying
receivers that can catch.
Yeah. And that's a running back who can catch.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to keep our eye out on that YouTube feed for when they open it back up. Just going to check and see when that is. Best for me was this Scott Wedman joke. He was telling me again, we had his dinner party. He was there. We see him every year. He was talking about just in general the 86 Celtics. And we were talking about how great shooters are these days. But at one point, he held a record for most consecutive made threes. It was 11 in a row. And he goes, it took him about 2 months. It was like 1.5 months or something like that. But it was 11 straight made threes. And the reporter asked him, he's like, hey, so you've made 11 straight threes, but it's taken you this long. Why is it taking you this long? Why aren't you shooting more? And he goes, do you know who I back up? Larry Bird. So he goes, there's a reason why it's taking me that long to get to this 11 straight made threes. And I said that was one of the funniest things of even back in the 80s, players and reporters had a funny rapport of, do you know who I back up? Larry Bird. Best to you, Mick.
Best to me was the JMU Sports News Twitter account all week last week and all weekend long, especially during the Alabama and Oklahoma game. Game Day called them out. Reese Davis did. There's some funny stuff. The best one was they took the quote of Nick Saban that said, we wouldn't want to watch AAA teams in the playoff. Only the highest quality ball allowed here. And then they showed the punt or the attempted punt by Oklahoma over and over again. And so they're just dragging them there. And they tweeted a lot during their loss on Saturday. I didn't catch up to it. I'm sure they made the blowout. Hey, they backdoor covered.
It was a backdoor cover.
There was that there, but they had a good time. That was a fun account.
Yeah, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We might be hearing more from the LCC on the other side. We're going to keep you guys posted right there. If not, I want to finish up a little with you, Mick, on the college football playoffs and get your thoughts on how you think it is, because I think I have a hot take that I think is the right take. Shout out to me for thinking I have the right take. Pretty normal. We'll come back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. One of the most fun things you can do, the back nine golf. Golf simulation has come so far. It's not what it used to be, especially as a lefty. So my dad's right-handed, I'm left-handed. Back in the day, we couldn't go and do a golf simulator together because you have to keep constantly moving the simulator back and forth, back and forth. Will it pick it up? Will it not? No. Not here at the back nine golf. My dad and I are getting ready to do this. They use full swing sims. They come from over the top. Lefty, righty, does not matter. They are the best in the market. It's the same simulator that Tiger has in his basements. They have 24/7, 365 access. You want to get away on Christmas? You're tired of your family? Come do this New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. You want to come? You can bring your own food, your own beverages, because again, 24/7, 365 access. They have leagues, tournaments, memberships, and hourly. It is for everyone, for businesses, for young fathers. Your kid, you want to get out of the house with your kid? Sit him up there. You have a 2-year-old? Sit him on a chair and watch you hit some bombs on the golf simulators. And for me, who's trying to get better, who never does, but I try, you want to know what your swing speed is. You want to know what your spin rate is. You want to know why you are hooking or slicing the ball. You can do this right here at the Back Nine. theback9golf.com/Overland Park. If you have forgot, I need to get some gifts still. You can give great memberships and gift cards with the Back Nine. And right now, they have exclusive winter memberships available. If you use code WHB, you will get 1 free hour. I promise, if you try this out, you are going to love it. So make sure you use code WHB for 1 free hour. That is theback9golf.com/Overland Park. Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Mick Schaefer. We're going to head out now to Topeka and hear from the LCC in regards to the Chiefs moving to Kansas.
Okay, anyone else out there need setup time? I think we've got everybody. All right, we're going to call the meeting back to order. After session, it's now time for the consideration of the matter of the bond district and project. Speaker Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the LCC approve the Star Bond and Star Bond District for the sports stadium to support the Kansas City Chiefs.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by everyone. I will pick somebody for the minutes for the record. But with that, I think in that regard, I'm going to go ahead and go with a roll call vote. We'll start Vice President Schallenberger, Majority Leader Blasey, Minority Leader Sykes. Let's see that mother in. Minority Leader Woodard, Pro Tem Carpenter, Majority Leader Croft.
Aye.
Speaker Hawkins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It is a unanimous consent and is thereby passed. With that, we've reached the end of the agenda, and we are adjourned.
So there you go. Passes unanimously, which we all expected, 8-0. So Star Bonds helping out to pay for the Chiefs moving to the Kansas side. So now what we're going to hear in the 3 o'clock hour, 3 o'clock, Laura Kelly, governor of Kansas, expected to speak. We do believe that there are Chiefs folk there as well. As Lebo pointed out earlier, we saw the 65 Power Trap media arm of the Kansas City Chiefs. They are there. So we'll hear from them in the 3 o'clock. Soren Petro and the program will keep you up to date as well on the, again, Chiefs moving to the Kansas side. It's crazy, Mick. It's after so long of talking, and then there was the lull, and then Petro on Thursday breaking the news of this meeting happening today. Feels like it's moved so quick after it was stagnant for so long.
It was so quick, right? And so we talked about last night on the Sunday Sound Off with Blair Kirchhoff, how we hemmed and hawed about this for years, right, with both these teams. And all of a sudden, I remember listening to Soren on Thursday talking about, like, hey, this could get done before the end of the year. I'm like, seriously, all this time, and all of a sudden it's going to happen so quickly, and it happened quicker than that. And 4 days later, it's official, and Twitter is abuzz with different points of view here, as you might imagine. Some people are treating this as how I treat it, of this is a move of, I don't know, what would it be, 20 miles? Something like that, 30 miles? Others almost like, okay, it's a different state, and these states are on different planets almost. Some people are decrying the Chiefs and saying they're ending their fandom. Where I've never been like that, but I didn't grow up here, so I don't have the Kansas Missouri kind of rivalry thing here. I never cared that they were in Missouri. I thought it was just fine. I don't care that they're in Kansas. I care that they're in this area. They're still going to be in a Kansas City, right? That's going to be in Kansas City, Kansas proper. I'm guessing. All the fans outside that don't know where Kansas City, Missouri is.
There's people that finally learned.
They're going to be right. They're going to be right. Yeah,
no,
they're going to learn
finally
it.
learned.
Like,
now it's in Kansas. What do you mean?
Wait. And so I consider it a good day for Kansas City because we get to keep them, and I love the prospects of a dome stadium and all that can come with it. But there are others that hold on to tradition and nostalgia, maybe more. And like I said, ones that grew up here and have been going to games longer than me. I've been covering this team for 27 years now, but it's still not as long as a lot of people have been going to games, and so they're embedded here with a lot more memories than I have, or transplants, or maybe younger guys like you. Maybe you don't hold on to the history as much. To me, Arrowhead's it's a building. It's a building.
Yeah.
But to others, I know it's a lot more.
I mean, it's sad. I mean, again, I'm 31. I love Arrowhead. It's gonna suck, but at the same time, history and change always happens. And I think it's human nature to be resistant at first to change in anything. Change is painful. The unknown is scary. the potential thought of loss of legacy can be heart-wrenching. And yet the point remains, change always happens. Yeah. And this is a decision not for 20 years, but for 60. I mean, in 20 years, if they were to renovate Arrowhead right now, I think Arrowhead's done. In 20 years, do we think that a 80-plus-ish building will remain? There's foundational issues that have transpired at the K. We don't think that any of those might not happen at Arrowhead. I mean, I think if you were going to renovate Arrowhead now, and I don't think you're building a dome or a rooftop that's retractable, because you're not doing that for 20 years. That is fiscally irresponsible, right? And then you're having the same conversation we're having, but even on a grander scale, not only in 20 years, but doing this not with Lamar Hunt and Clark Hunt, Lamar Hunt Jr. and Clark Hunt. You're not doing it with their kids. So my belief is you don't want to leave that in your kids. That is a large, tall task for your kids. So why not make the decision for the future now versus of kicking the can down the road? Will it be painful? Yeah, it's going to be painful. But will it be the right decision in the long haul? Probably. I don't know how you would view this in the medical field if this is an amputation, where it's like, hey, you need the amputation. If you don't get it, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might live 2 weeks with both legs, but there's way more risk of carrying this than just getting it over with now and making the hard decision to move on.
I've always thought of this team, and I think of the Royals and Sporting and everything else in this town as a town team, as a team that belongs to this city. I never thought of it as Missouri's team.
Agreed.
Nor do I think of Sporting KC as Kansas's team, even though I think they still have offices on the Missouri side. They play on the Kansas side. I think of them all as Kansas City's team, and in my point of view, it's still Kansas City's team, even though it's on the Kansas side now.
I would say people that live on the Kansas side, pick up your Missouri brethren who might be sad
There's
right now.
people on the Kansas side, this will be a farther drive for them, depending on where you live.
It's probably
right?
farther for us. If you live I live by the station.
It probably is farther for you.
It's going to be farther for
yep.
me.
Yeah.
Come together, Kansas City. Don't argue and fight over it. The Chiefs are staying in the Metro. Pick each other up. Petro on the program coming up next.